Chapter 169. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with content that can't be found online will be available here. When Lin Chengye and Feng Lin arrived at home, they found out that there was a son-in-law in the house. Feng Lin was puzzled. Wasn't the old lady a leper who fainted in front of Jianyong and Liulong's house? How come there was a son-in-law? He didn't suspect that this great-uncle was fake and thought that the two of them were separated. How did he find the capital? Feng Lin asked. The place where the old lady fainted was in the county town, which was thousands of miles away from the capital. Gu Jiao scooped out the fried meatballs from the pot. Maybe he went to the village to inquire about it. Feng Lin nodded. That's true. No matter what, it's good to be able to reunite. Last year, there were Xue Ningxiang and Go Hua in the countryside for the new year. This year, there were Lin Chengye, Gu Yan, and the old chancellor. There was only one more person, but it felt more lively. It was mainly because Feng Lin and Gu Jiao were familiar with each other and became the second loudspeaker spirit in the house after little Jing Kong. Xiao Lulang was annoyed by him and regretted that he eased the relationship between him and Gu Jiao. Because today was Xiao Lulang and little Jing Kong's birthday, the family prepared gifts for them. Gu Yan gave a small clay figurine that he made himself. Since his wooden figurine was mistaken by Gu Chongqing for a monkey, his confidence was greatly damaged and he never learned to carve things from Gu Shaoshun again. Gu Shaoshun still gave a wooden figurine. He carved a Buddhist scripture for little Jing Kong and a poetry book for Xiao Lulang. His skills had improved since Gu Jiao's birthday 2 months ago. Gu Jiao deeply felt that her brother's talent couldn't be delayed any longer. After the new year, she would find a reliable carpenter master for him to tutor him after class. The old lady also gave him a purse, and her purse was better than the last time. Great aunt, you're amazing. Gu Shaoshun praised. The old lady raised her chin proudly. Then she heard little Jing Kong say, "Granduncle embroidered it. I saw everything. Great aunt only cut the end of the thread." Old lady. Little monk, can't you just shut up? Old chancellor. Exactly. Do you think I don't care about my reputation? For the first time in his life, the old enemy that he had been fighting with for half his life finally let out a sigh of relief. The old chancellor gave Xiao Lulang a set of 4 treasures of the study. Gu Jiao didn't understand this, but from the look of surprise in Xiao Liulong's eyes, this set of things obviously had a great history. Even though the old chancellor was an honest official and didn't leave behind much money, he was favored by His Majesty and had a lot of royal gifts in his hands. Any one of them would be of extraordinary value. Great uncle. Granduncle. Little Jing Kong looked at him cutely. The old chancellor's heart almost melted because of his adorableness. Naturally, the old chancellor also prepared a gift for little Jing Kong. He knew that little Jing Kong was learning foreign languages, so he translated a few folk stories into 6 languages, one of which was Sanskrit. The old chancellor was the most knowledgeable person in the whole of Zhao country. This was a fact that even Empress Dowager Zhuang couldn't deny. Moreover, in order to make the reading more interesting, he also drew illustrations. Little Jing Kong fell in love with it at first sight. Feng Lin and Lin Chengye also gave their gifts. When it was Gu Jiao's turn, Gu Jiao gave each of them a box. Little Jing Kong opened it on the spot. It was a set of checkers that Gu Jiao asked someone to custom make for her. There was no glass in ancient times, so she replaced it with iron balls of different colors. She liked to play checkers when she was young, but she didn't know if little Jing Kong liked it. In addition to the checkers, she also folded a few paper cranes by herself, mainly for decoration. Little Jing Kong liked all of them. Other people's gifts were directly placed on the table. Gu Jiao's gift was even packed in a box, so Xiao Lulang didn't open it on the spot. Little Jing Kong didn't open the Shi Yi for Gu Yan's birthday, which made him think about it for a long time. However, there were too many gifts today. Little Jing Kong's attention was completely attracted by the gifts, so he didn't have time to think about his brother-in-law's gift. Not only that, He even asked Gu Jiao for a big kiss on his birthday. Tonight, Feng Lin and Lin Chengye stayed here to spend the New Year's Eve. Xiao Lulang and little Jingkong gave up their room for the two of them to stay the night. Little Jingkong was almost caught by his grandaunt and brought to her room. Fortunately, he was quick-witted and shamelessly stayed in Zhao Zhao's room with the excuse that he was the birthday boy and that he was the most important. He would never know. As soon as he started to snore, his grandmother took him back to her room and used him as a pillow. They didn't really stay up for the whole night. When it was almost midnight, everyone went back to their rooms to rest. Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao also went back to the east room. The room was not too cold because of the silver charcoal. Gu Jiao made 2 quilts, one for each of them. Xiao Lulang walked in with the box. Gu Jiao looked back at him and asked, "Do you want to sleep?" "Yes." He nodded. Gu Jiao went outside to check the bolts of the front and back doors. When she returned to the room, he was opening her gift. Gu Jiao had never seen that curious and careful look on his face. Not long ago, she felt that he had grown up and was an adult, but now she felt that there was still a child living in his heart. "Do you like it?" Gu Jiao's voice sounded at the door. Xiao Lulang was shocked. He calmed himself down and turned to look at her without changing his expression. "Why is there a checkers set?" That was an extra set she made. Gu Jiao mainly gave him the clothes that she sewed herself. Gu Jiao blinked and said, "Of course you have something that little Jingkong has." Xiao Lulang replied with an "oh." Suddenly, he became serious. "Why don't I have that one?" "Which one?" Gu Jiao tilted her head and asked. "That one." Xiao Lulang couldn't say the name. Gu Jiao thought about it and replied with an "oh." She wondered why he would make such a request. However, she still walked forward. Under Xiao Liulong's stunned gaze, she leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. "Xiao Lulang." "Ah." He was talking about the origami crane. Xiao Liulong's entire face turned red, especially the place where Gu Jiao kissed. It was so red that it was almost dripping blood. When they fell asleep, Gu Jiao put out the charcoal fire. The temperature in the room gradually dropped, but Xiao Lulang still felt that his whole body was hot. He lay stiffly next to Gu Jiao. The oil lamp was also put out. A trace of light reflected from the snow came through the window lattice. He opened his eyes wide and couldn't sleep. Because of this sudden kiss, his mind was in a mess. Even the suffocating fire didn't burn in his mind. He turned over to face her and fell into a deep sleep. In the dead of night, the moon was dark and the wind was strong. Everyone fell into a deep sleep. However, a strange figure silently snuck into their house. Gu Jiao was very alert, but she didn't notice that the other party had walked around her bed. He searched a few rooms and finally stopped in front of little Jingkong's bed. Little Jingkong had already kicked off the quilt. He was sprawled out on all fours and snoring loudly. The man sat down by the bed. His pair of peach blossom eyes were filled with a smile. First, he pinched his little cheeks, then played with his little feet. Finally, he poked his chubby little belly. "You even said that you've grown taller than the big tree in the yard. I knew you were bragging. Your little arms and legs have become stronger, and your little face has also become chubby. It seems that this family has raised you well. I thought that you would be the same as before, that you would be sent back by the adoptive family in less than a month. Oh, you don't remember, right? When you were 1 year old, you were sent back 3 times. The man hummed and pinched the little guy's little hand. It was very hot, so he didn't pull the quilt to cover him. The man smiled evilly. You've lived here for so long. You should be tired of living here. Call me master, and I'll take you away. Little Jingkong, master. The man's face changed, and he flew up to the beam. No one could be faster than him in running away. Little Jingkong turned over and continued to sleep. So it's just sleep talk. The man breathed a sigh of relief. He gently jumped and landed on the ground. This time, he didn't dare to say anything more. He left the birthday gift and was ready to leave. Unexpectedly, He inadvertently glanced and saw the old lady beside little Jing Kong. The man narrowed his pair of intoxicating peach blossom eyes. Empress Dowager Zhuang of the Zhao state? Little girl, it's not enough that you provoked Marquis Shuangping's mansion. You even invited Empress Dowager Zhuang to your house? You're playing with fire. Master's disciple can't play with fire with you. As the man spoke, he bent down to hold little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong, who was sleeping, suddenly raised his little foot and stepped on the man's mouth. The man rolled his eyes and stuck out his tongue in disgust. He wished that he could faint on the spot. He used his peerless qinggong and jumped out of the window. However, the moment he landed, he fell flat on his face. Little Jing Kong was so good at wrestling because he learned it from Master. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1142961142. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 170. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. Before dawn, Feng Lin woke Lin Chengye up. Stop sleeping, it's time to burn incense. Lin Chengye was in a daze for a while. Burn incense for what? Feng Lin quickly jumped out of bed and put on his clothes. Did you forget that today is the first day of the new year? We agreed to go to Puji Temple to grab the first incense. Puji Temple was a very famous temple in the capital. Other temples were famous for praying for marriage or children, but Puji Temple in the capital was different. It was famous for praying for Jinshe. There was a rumor in the capital that the scholars who managed to grab the first incense at Puji Temple all became Jinshe. Feng Lin did not expect to become a Jinshe. He prayed that he could pass the metropolitan examination. If he could become a tribute scholar, he would be praying for Buddha. Lin Chengye seemed to have forgotten about this matter. He pulled the blanket over his head and continued to sleep. Feng Lin pulled his blanket down. Don't sleep. Don't sleep. Get up quickly. We still have to call Lu Lang. Upon hearing that she was going to call Lu Lang, Lin Chengye woke up from his drowsiness. Okay. Feng Lin went to knock on the door of the east room. Xiao Lu Lang was awakened. He looked at Gu Jiao, who was sleeping soundly beside him, and frowned impatiently. He did not want to get out of bed, but he was afraid that if he did not go out, Feng Lin would keep knocking on the door. He got out of bed and opened the door for Feng Lin. A gust of cold wind blew in. He quickly went out and closed the door behind him. What's wrong? Feng Lin rubbed his hands and said angrily, Go burn incense. Hurry up. It will be too late if we don't leave now. We are going to grab the first incense. Even if we can't grab the first incense, we will still be able to do it within 100 incense sticks. But Liolong's leg, is it okay? Lin Chengye walked over and asked. Feng Lin said, It's okay. We can't walk much. The carriage can go straight to the river. We just need to cross a bridge to reach the temple. Moreover, Xiao Liolong's surgery was very successful. Jiaonyang said that his foot didn't hurt anymore. He just needed to exercise more. The matter of offering incense was something that Xiao Lu Lang had promised Feng Lin on New Year's Eve last year. At that time, Feng Lin had said that if he had the opportunity to go to the capital in the future to take the imperial examinations, he would definitely go to Puji Temple to pray. How could Xiao Lu Lang have expected that he would really come to the capital? How did he get to where he was today, step by step, after swearing that he would never step foot in the capital again. "All right, stop arguing. I'm going to change my clothes," Xiao Lulang said as he entered the room. He glanced at Gu Jiao, who was sleeping soundly. He pulled the blanket over her and dressed her neatly. He then went to the backyard to wash up before leaving with the other two. Steward Zhou knew that they were going to snatch the first incense, so he had been waiting outside the door early. Breakfast had also been laid out, and it was all in the carriage. The few of them boarded the carriage and rushed towards Puji Temple. Not long after they left, Gu Jiao had a dream. This time, she dreamt of Xiao Lulang. The last time she dreamt of him was when he went to take the imperial examinations in June. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. He did not have any bad luck, so she thought that nothing bad would happen to him. On New Year's Day, Xiao Lulang and the other two went to a temple called Puji Temple to snatch the first incense. The saying of snatching the first incense did not only exist in ancient times, it was also quite popular in her previous life. Originally, it was nothing much, just offering incense. If they could snatch the first incense, it would be a good sign. If they could not snatch the first incense, it would also be good to pray to the Bodhisattva. Moreover, Xiao Lulang himself did not place his hopes on the Bodhisattva. He came here to accompany Feng Lin. Unfortunately, there was a nobleman among the people who went to offer incense on New Year's Day. In order to make it easier for the nobleman to pass, the imperial bodyguards had already occupied the stone arch bridge. If the rest of the pilgrims wanted to cross the river, they had to take a longer route and walk on another cable bridge. The cable bridge led to the back door of the temple. That cable bridge had not been repaired for many years. Usually, not many people used it, so it was safe and sound. However, on New Year's Day, many pilgrims squeezed onto that wooden cable bridge. The huge weight broke the broken rope of the cable bridge, and the pilgrims on the bridge fell into the bone-chilling river. In the cold winter, everyone was wearing a lot of clothes, so not many people swam up. Most of the pilgrims who died were examinees for next year's spring examinations. Losing so many examinees at once, the imperial court suffered a great loss. This year's spring examinations had the fewest examinees since the founding of the country. Xiao Lulang was one of the many people who fell into the river. The person in front of him had just gone up when the cable bridge broke. He was just one step away, just one step. This situation was the most regrettable. Although so many people fell into the river, it made people feel that he was the unluckiest one. When Gu Jiao woke up, she looked at the sky. It was already dawn. Xiao Lulang and the other two should have reached the foot of the mountain and discovered that the stone arch bridge was impassable. In that case, they would go to the cable bridge. Because there were many people, the road was congested and they walked especially slowly. She might still be able to catch up. No, she had to catch up. The market wasn't open on New Year's Day, so she couldn't rent a carriage. However, the old man next door had one. Gu Jiao went to knock on the door and said she wanted to offer incense. Old Chancellor nodded and hurriedly let Lu Quan drive the carriage to send Gu Jiao to the temple. It was still okay in front, but the road near the temple was impassable. It wasn't spacious to begin with, and half of it was sealed to make a special passage for that noble. Gu Jiao opened the curtain. "Uncle Lu, you go back first. I'll walk over myself." "Will it work?" Lu Quan looked at the vast sea of people and was slightly worried. "It's not far." Gu Jiao jumped down from the carriage. She squeezed into the crowd and came to the riverbank. From here, she could clearly see the temple on the other side of the river. However, there was only one bridge in front of her and that bridge was guarded by guards. The pilgrims all walked towards the east side of the riverbank. This detour would take at least 5 to 6 miles. It was too late. By the time she detoured, Xiao Lulang would have already gone on the bridge. The only way was to pass through the stone arch bridge in front of her and go through the temple to the back door. She had to think of a way to stop Xiao Lulang, who was about to go on the bridge. Gu Jiao walked towards the stone arch bridge. As expected, she was stopped by an imperial guard at the entrance. The imperial guard wore armor and held a spear in his hand, looking impressive. "This place doesn't allow you to pass." he said coldly. Gu Jiao raised her eyes and looked at him. I have an urgent matter to pass through. The Imperial Guard said coldly, who isn't in a hurry to grab the first incense? There's another bridge over there. Pass through there. Gu Jiao's gaze was indifferent, but it inexplicably made the Imperial Guard feel pressured. He said again, it's an order from above, we can't do anything about it. Gu Jiao said, there are too many people over there, the cable bridge will collapse. The Imperial Guard smiled coldly, I just walked on that bridge a few days ago, it's very good, how can it collapse? Originally, Gu Jiao thought that if she didn't go over, they would send people to stop her from going on the bridge. But now it seemed that it didn't make sense at all. Gu Jiao's gaze turned cold, what if I have to pass through here? Her gaze suddenly became sharp. The Imperial Guard was startled. But in the end, she was still a little girl, so the Imperial Guard became firm again, then I can only arrest you. There were a total of 8 Imperial Guards at the entrance, and there were 2 Imperial Guards every 10 steps on the bridge. The bridge was 30 meters long, and there were Imperial Guards standing at the end all the way to the entrance of the temple. There were a total of 100 people. There were probably hidden places in the temple. Breaking through the encirclement of 100 Imperial Guards was not an easy thing to do. But this bridge, she had to walk on it today. Gu Jiao took a step forward. The Imperial Guard raised his hand to grab her, but Gu Jiao pressed down on his arm with one hand and used the force to spin on his back. She flew up and used the other hand to pull out the sword at his waist. She landed on one knee and used the sword to support her body. Her eyes were as sharp as ice blades. The Imperial Guard was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect such an ordinary-looking little girl to have such skills. After he came back to his senses, he shouted, "What are you all standing there for? Arrest her!" The Imperial Guards on the bridge swarmed forward. Originally, there was no need to mobilize so many people to deal with a little girl, but Gu Jiao's move had shocked them, so they all pulled out their swords. Gu Jiao's body suddenly released a sharp killing intent. But she didn't want to kill anyone. One of the Imperial Guards stabbed at her. Gu Jiao's sword slashed at the edge of his sword. The huge force made half of the Imperial Guard's arm go numb. But this was only one Imperial Guard. Soon, the rest of the Imperial Guards rushed forward. If they didn't kill anyone, their speed would be slower. Xiao Lulang was about to reach the bridge. 3 more Imperial Guards rushed at her. Killing them with one slash was only a matter of seconds, but taking them down one by one would take a lot of time. Don't force me. Gu Jiao gripped the long sword in her hand. She had never been a kind person. The organization in her previous life was not some kind of compassion alliance. It was just a group of people who lived on the edge of the world. If you can pay the price, I will dare to kill you. Gu Jiao gritted her teeth and shouted. She kicked off the stone railing of the bridge and jumped into the air. She swung her long sword and the cold light of the sword flashed across her eyes. A powerful murderous aura came from all directions. Seeing that her sword was about to draw blood, a familiar shout came from not far away. Stop! Gu Jiao's waist and abdomen tightened. She suddenly stopped in the air and turned her long sword, cutting open the armors of the 3 Imperial Guards. The 3 Imperial Guards were so scared that their faces turned pale. This move was so fierce that they couldn't fight back at all. If it wasn't for the voice just now, this sword wouldn't have just cut open their armors. 3rd Princess Consort. Some Imperial Guards recognized the woman in luxurious clothes at the entrance. He cupped his hands and bowed to her respectfully. The rest of the Imperial Guards also bowed to her. Gu Jiao turned around indifferently. The 3rd Princess Consort ignored the Imperial Guards who bowed to her and walked quickly to Gu Jiao. Are you okay? Miss Gu? Did they hurt you? No. Gu Jiao said. The 3rd Princess Consort looked her up and down. Seeing that there was no blood on her body, she believed her. But wasn't she a doctor? How could she use a sword? The 3rd Princess Consort was frightened by her skills just now. Miss Gu, are you also here to offer incense? The 3rd Princess Consort looked at her and asked. In fact, the third princess consort was also here to offer incense. But she didn't want to come. It was her family who urged her to come. Seeing that there were so many people, she didn't want to join in the fun. So she asked someone to stop the carriage in the nearby forest to rest. She planned to go when there were fewer people. But she didn't expect that she would hear the noise on the arch bridge. Gu Jiao nodded. I have something urgent to do. I need to cross the bridge. The third princess consort said, Then go ahead. Third princess consort. An imperial guard said, This bridge. The third princess consort arrogantly interrupted him. What? I'm the third princess consort. Can't I walk on this bridge? The imperial guard said, Of course you can. The third princess consort waved her sleeves coldly. Then get out of the way. The imperial guards looked at each other in dismay and finally made a path for him. The third princess consort said to Gu Jiao, You walk faster than me. You go ahead. I'll be right behind you. Thank you. Gu Jiao thanked her and was about to leave. Then she thought of something and turned to the third princess consort. Did you bring the imperial guards? Yes. The third princess consort said. Gu Jiao said, Call all the imperial guards who can swim and go to the cable bridge at the back of the temple. Why? The third princess consort wanted to ask the reason, but Gu Jiao didn't have time to explain. She ran across the bridge with the sword in her hand until she reached the other side. Then she threw away the long sword in her hand and quickly walked into the temple. The third princess consort watched her silently and guarded her to cross the bridge. She wanted to chase after her. However, it took 100 days to recover from a serious injury. She had just finished the operation a month ago. Although she had recovered well, she didn't dare to use too much strength. Thinking of Gu Jiao's words, she frowned suspiciously. Why do you need imperial guards who can swim? What does Miss Gu want to do? After Gu Jiao entered the temple, she quickly asked a monk, Where's the back door? Over there. Go around the Heavenly King Hall. You'll see a small garden at the end. Go to the left. The monk didn't finish his words before Gu Jiao disappeared. Gu Jiao climbed onto the roof and jumped all the way to the back door from a straight line. The monk was stunned. Amitabha. There were many people at the back door. Gu Jiao went against the flow and came to the cable bridge. She looked at the rope hanging on the bridge. It was really about to break. She moved a few steps to the side and saw the figure in the crowd. He was about to walk onto the bridge. Gu Jiao shouted, Don't come over. The cable bridge was full of people. The other end of the bridge was not to be outdone. It was a boiling cauldron of voices. In an instant, the shout from the other side of the bridge was drowned out. However, Xiao Lulang seemed to have sensed something. His heart skipped a beat and he subconsciously raised his head. One of his feet was already on the bridge. He stared blankly at the other side of the bridge. He saw Gu Jiao looking at him anxiously across the mountains and rivers. Gu Jiao was not expressionless, but she rarely had any emotional changes. It was the first time he saw such an anxious look in her eyes. Don't come over, she said. Digression, it's the last day of the month. It's time to clear out the monthly votes. Can I vote for Jiao Jiao and Little Jing Kong? Little Jing Kong will send you a flying kiss. Continue reading today. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more fully. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/114269726. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 171. The latest chapter of the book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that can't be found online are all available here. Xiao Lulang retracted his foot from the suspension bridge. Are you going or not? If you're not, move aside. A burly man behind him rudely pushed Xiao Lulang to the side. Hey! Why are you pushing people? Lulang! Lulang, hurry up! Feng Lin had already squeezed onto the bridge with the crowd. He thought that Xiao Lulang would follow him onto the bridge, but he didn't expect that his spot would be taken by someone else. He reached out to grab Xiao Lulang, but he couldn't catch him. You come back too, Xiao Lulang said to him. But it was too late. There were too many people, and Feng Lin was soon squeezed into the middle. Lin Chengye was behind Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang didn't get onto the bridge, so he didn't either. Gu Jiao was still shouting not to come over. The bridge was about to break, but only the people who were about to get onto the bridge heard her. Even if they heard her, they didn't believe her. They shook their heads and went to the temple. Ouch! Feng Lin was pushed across the bridge. He lost his balance and stumbled 2 steps before falling. He rubbed his aching knee and got up. Before he could see Gu Jiao, who was not far away, he heard a scream behind him. Ah! 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 Feng Lin looked back. Oh my God! The bridge broke. The bridge didn't break in the middle. It broke from the end near the temple. Everyone on the bridge fell into the bone-chilling water. Xiao Lulang saw clearly that the burly man who pushed him away just now fell from the sky the moment he got onto the bridge. He fell the worst because he was standing the highest. If Gu Jiao hadn't stopped him, he would have been the one who fell into the water. There was also Lin Chengye, who was behind him. He would not be able to avoid this disaster either. Those who fell into the water were like dumplings, struggling desperately in the cold river water. Those who didn't get on the bridge were so scared that their legs went soft. The holy land that was illuminated by the Buddha's aura suddenly became a purgatory on earth. Xiao Lulang looked at the slender figure on the other side of the river. How many times had she helped him avoid disaster? The cold wind was biting cold. Her green clothes fluttered in the wind, her fine black hair fluttering in the wind. In this pure white world, she was like a little fairy that had descended to the mortal world. Gu Jiao came back from the stone arch bridge. Feng Lin followed behind her with a pale face. Really, he was scared to death. If he had been a step late, he would have been the one to fall. Also, he was extremely glad that Lulang and Lin Chengye did not get on the bridge. Otherwise, how could the 2 of them escape? Thinking of this, Feng Lin's legs felt as though he had done many bad things. He couldn't even walk. Hurry up, Gu Jiao urged. Ah! Feng Lin hugged his arms tightly, his voice trembling. She had done what she could and the rest was not something she could interfere with. Moreover, what did the common people of the world have to do with her? She only cared about that one person. The 4 of them met up and came to Lin Chengye's carriage. When Steward Zhou saw that the 4 of them came out safely, he let out a long sigh of relief. Oh my God, I was scared to death. I was scared to death. Just now I heard someone say that the cable bridge was broken. I was wondering if 6th young master and you were also on the bridge. I. Lin Chengye patted Steward Zhou's back to comfort him. It was also at this time that Lin Chengye realized how difficult it was for Steward Zhou. Perhaps people who had survived a disaster were especially fragile. In his heart, he had always treated Steward Zhou as a servant. At this moment, he inexplicably saw some of his old father's shadow in Steward Zhou. Lin Chengye's nose turned sour. Get on the carriage, Steward Zhou said with a choked smile. The 4 of them got on the carriage. Although Xiao Lulang and Lin Chengye were saved, the people in the carriage still seemed to be in a daze. Feng Lin and Lin Chengye did not hear Gu Jiao's words. They only thought that Xiao Lulang could not get on the cable bridge because he was pushed away by someone. The 2 of them were too shocked by the incident and forgot to ask Gu Jiao how she came to be here. She even arrived at the temple before them. The carriage quickly arrived at Lin Chengye's house. Steward Zhou lifted the curtain and smiled at Lin Chengye and Feng Lin. "Sixth young master Feng, please get off the carriage first. I will send top scorer Xiao and Lady Xiao back." "Oh." Lin Chengye replied and got off the carriage with Feng Lin. The two of them needed to calm down. The carriage continued to move towards Jade Water Alley. Steward Zhou sat in the carriage with the coachman. Only Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao were left in the carriage. Xiao Lulang glanced at Gu Jiao. She always carried a basket with her medicine box inside. Today, she did not bring anything. It was obvious that she was in a hurry. He looked at her without blinking. "How did you know that the cable bridge would break?" Gu Jiao said without changing her expression. "Oh, a few days ago, a patient came to the clinic. He just came back from Puji Temple. He said that the cable bridge had not been repaired for a long time. He was afraid that it would not last long. Today is the first day of the new year. With so many people fighting for the first incense, the cable bridge would not be able to withstand your weight." In her previous life, she had undergone lie detection training. She could even control her facial expressions. Xiao Lulang looked at her deeply. "But there are 2 bridges there. How did you know that we would take the longer route and use the cable bridge? Did you know in advance that there would be a noble coming this morning and sealing the stone arch bridge?" Gu Jiao spread her hands. "Of course I didn't know. I have never been to Puji Temple. I didn't know that there was a stone arch bridge, okay? That patient did not mention a stone arch bridge. I thought there was only a cable bridge." This logic was flawless. The premise was that there was indeed a patient who had complained to her about the cable bridge being in disrepair for a long time. Xiao Lulang had no way to verify this. However, Xiao Lulang felt that this matter had nothing to do with evidence. He looked at Gu Jiao. Are you what?" Xiao Lulang didn't believe his own words. He thought that a small medicine box was enough for him to think about, but who knew that it was far more than that? Her secrets were no less than his. Xiao Lulang finally swallowed all his doubts. He was happy that he got away with it. Gu Jiao shook her head and showed the same proud expression as little Jing Kong. Xiao Lulang thought, "Is it really good to expose myself so quickly? Don't I care about my reputation? Top scorer Xiao, Lady Xiao, we have arrived," Steward Zhou said from outside the curtain. The two got off the carriage. Xiao Lulang thanked him. Suddenly, little Jing Kong's howl came from the courtyard. The two were startled. The last time when little Jing Kong made a scene with his great-aunt was still vivid in his mind. Today, Gu Jiao left in a hurry and forgot to wake the little guy up and tell him that she was going out. If he woke up and found that he did not sleep on Gu Jiao's bed last night, he would feel that he had slept in vain. However, when the two of them entered the backyard anxiously, they saw little Jing Kong playing happily in the snow with the family's puppy, 7 chicks, and a baby eagle. Gu Jiao thought, am I not important anymore? Little Jing Kong saw Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang. He ran over. "Jiao Jiao, Jiao Jiao," he said excitedly. "Bad brother-in-law," he said in a low voice. Gu Jiao opened her mouth. "Well, just now little Jing Kong said cutely. I know. Jiao Jiao went to burn incense. Jiao Jiao wanted Buddha to bless me and make me grow taller." Gu Jiao thought, what's going on? Little Jing Kong's eyes seemed to be filled with stars. "Master, he has been here before." The topic changed a little too quickly. Gu Jiao blinked in surprise. Little Jing Kong took out a piece of paper from a small box in the snow and handed it to Gu Jiao. "Jiao Jiao, look." It was what? Gu Jiao couldn't understand the words on it. Xiao Lulang looked at it and was a little surprised. "It's a house deed from the state of Liang." Gu Jiao thought, did they go abroad to speculate in real estate? Gu Jiao gave Xiao Lulang a look that could only be understood but not explained. "Could it be that you and Master Liang made a fake house deed to comfort the little girl?" Xiao Lulang pointed at a seal. "It's a real house deed with the official seal of the Yamen." Gu Jiao was speechless. Gu Jiao found out from little Jing Kong that master came in the middle of the night and left after leaving a gift. Gu Jiao asked, "Did you see him?" Little Jing Kong thought for a while. I saw him. I saw him." Children were always very firm in their beliefs. As long as they wanted to see him, they would see him even if they didn't. Gu Jiao asked again, "Were you the one who opened the door for him?" Little Jing Kong said, "Yes. Yes." Sometimes, children could really say whatever they wanted. Little Jing Kong believed that he was the one who opened the door for Master Liang. He even had a good night with Master Liang. Little Jing Kong shook his head and went to play. There was a letter in the box with Gu Jiao's terrible handwriting. In the letter, she said that she was going to grab the first incense and asked Buddha to bless Jing Kong and make him grow taller. She was afraid that he wouldn't be safe if he slept alone, so she carried him to her grandaunt's bed first. Gu Jiao looked at Xiao Lulang. "This can't be real, right?" Xiao Lulang shrugged. "It's not me." He really couldn't write this kind of handwriting. The old chancellor next door finally recovered from his exhaustion. It was easy for him to imitate famous names and paintings, but imitating his little benefactor's handwriting almost cost him his life. The news of the broken cable bridge was so big that it couldn't be suppressed. It spread to the palace at night. The person who blocked the road was also found out. It was the Crown Princess. The Crown Princess spread the news that she was going to Puji Temple to burn incense, so the vice commander of the Imperial Guards blocked the road, the bridge, and even the streets for her. In the past, this wasn't a big deal. After all, the imperial family couldn't travel without ostentation. As long as nothing happened, everything was fine. But the problem was that something happened, and it was a matter of life and death. His Majesty couldn't sit still anymore. He had nowhere to vent his anger, and it wasn't good to scold a woman. So he called the Crown Prince to the imperial study and scolded him. "Look at what you've done. It's the first day of the new year, the beginning of the country's fate, and you two have caused me such a big trouble. Do you think my throne is too stable? Do you want to find fault with me?" The Crown Prince also felt wronged. Which imperial family didn't have ostentation when traveling? Moreover, that was the Crown Princess, the future mother of Zhao's state. Not to mention that she only blocked a road and a bridge. Even if she blocked the temple and didn't allow anyone to burn incense, it wouldn't be a mistake. It wasn't that the Crown Prince was partial to the Crown Princess, but that the imperial family had always been like this. This was the imperial family's ostentation and also the imperial family's rule. Unless the Crown Princess traveled incognito. But then her safety wouldn't be guaranteed. But now that His Majesty was angry, the Crown Prince didn't dare to refute a word. His Majesty continued to scold, "Can't you learn from Third Prince? How does other people's wife do things? How does your wife do things?" Because the third Crown Princess listened to Gu Jiao's suggestion and chose a large number of people who knew how to swim from her family's guards and imperial guards to the back door of the temple, she immediately ordered them to go into the river to save people when the cable bridge broke. The river wasn't turbulent, and everyone was holding on to the wooden planks of the cable bridge. As long as they were saved in time, they wouldn't freeze to death in the river. Most of the people who fell into the water were saved, and the casualties were minimized. Most of them were examinees for next year's imperial examination in spring. It could be imagined that if they weren't saved, the entire imperial court would lose a lot of talents. His Majesty used to have a good impression of the Crown Princess. After all, she was someone who had an engagement with the young chancellor. The two grew up together. That child was so outstanding, so how bad could she be? This marriage back then was a bit inappropriate. The Crown Prince was Xiao Heng's cousin. How could he ask for the hand of his cousin's widow? But Wan Linlang was really outstanding. Xiao Heng had passed away for so long, and the Crown Prince really liked her. After much consideration, His Majesty still agreed to this marriage. Wan Linlang didn't disappoint the imperial family. Although her family background wasn't outstanding among the prince's wives, her talent, breadth of mind, vision, and ability were far better than the other daughters-in-law of His Majesty. His Majesty didn't expect this kind of thing to happen today. His Majesty continued to scold. "Do you know how much resentment the people have now? If it wasn't for third prince's wife who saved everyone in time, your imperial father, I, would have written an edict of self-condemnation tomorrow. The emperor of a country would only write an edict of self-condemnation to the world when he made a huge mistake. This was no different from slapping the imperial family's face. No emperor was willing to write an edict of self-condemnation. This would be recorded in the annals of history and be infamous for 10,000 years. The crown prince was scolded badly. After a full 2 hours, he held his sore knees and returned to the eastern palace. The third prince's wife had made a great contribution. His Majesty rewarded her with 1,000 taels of gold and issued an imperial edict, conferring the third prince the title of Rui Wang and the third prince's wife the title of consort Rui Wang. This was the first prince to be conferred the title of king after the crown prince. Logically speaking, the title should start with the eldest prince. But none of the civil and military officials objected. There was no other way. There were so many lives, so many future pillars of the imperial court. Even the censorate, who had the most poisonous mouth, was silent. The third prince should be called Rui Wang now. Rui Wang brought his wife into the palace and kowtowed to His Majesty to thank him for his kindness. His Majesty was very happy. He used to think that this son wasn't very promising, but his wife was so capable. At least he and consort Yu had good taste in choosing people. His Majesty asked Rui Wang to play 2 games of chess. Consort Rui Wang went to pay her respects to the Empress, then to noble consort Zhuang and consort Yu. After that, she wandered around the imperial garden. After a while, she arrived at the entrance of the eastern palace. "You." She pointed at Maid Su. "Go in and report that this Wang Fei requests an audience with the crown prince consort." "Yes." Maid Su braced herself and went in. Not long after, female official Su walked out, followed by a granny with a smile on her face. The granny said, "So it's consort Rui Wang. Apologies for not going out to meet you, but it's not convenient for the crown prince consort to receive guests right now." Consort Rui Wang smiled and said, "Isn't it just being grounded by imperial father? It's not like you want her to come out. I'll go in and see her." After saying this, she didn't care whether the granny invited her in or not. She lifted her skirt and crossed the threshold, heading towards the crown prince consort's eastern courtyard. The crown prince consort was sitting on a cushion in the warm room, copying Buddhist scriptures. "Oh, what are you doing, sister-in-law?" Consort Rui Wang walked in with raised brows. "Consort Rui Wang, withdraw." A palace maid wanted to go forward to stop consort Rui Wang but was stopped by the crown prince consort. The palace maid retreated obediently. Consort Rui Wang sat down on the cushion across from her. However, Maid Su didn't dare to follow in and waited outside the door with the Eastern Palace's granny and palace maid. The crown prince consort gently put down her brush and looked at consort Rui Wang with a composed expression. "May I ask why consort Rui Wang has come to find me today?" Consort Rui Wang said with a smile, "I heard that you were grounded. I was afraid that you would be bored, so I came to relieve your boredom. Don't blame me for coming late. I also only heard this morning that you were grounded." The crown prince consort didn't respond. She picked up her brush and continued to copy Buddhist scriptures. Consort Rui Wang wouldn't feel bored just because she ignored her. She had lived in Wen Linlong's shadow for 20 years. Finally, she didn't have to be suppressed by Wen Linlang. Consort Rui Wang said with a smile, "If you're uncomfortable, just say it. There's no need to pretend that you don't care." "I'm not uncomfortable," the crown prince consort said calmly. Consort Rui Wang smiled. "I heard that it wasn't you who wanted to travel. It was your maternal family who used your name. Why didn't you explain clearly to imperial father?" This was where consort Rui Wang was stronger than the crown prince consort. Consort Rui Wang's maternal family never dragged her down because her maternal family had the backing of Duke Luo's estate. It was already powerful enough. However, when Linlang was different. The one family had already declined. Her father was seriously ill at home, and her elder brother was only a minor registrar of the Supreme Court. Consort Rue Wang naturally understood that the Crown Prince Consort couldn't explain. Some things would only make things worse the more they were explained. It would also give His Majesty the impression that she could only shirk responsibility if something happened. The Crown Prince Consort said carelessly, "I heard that before the cable bridge broke, Consort Rue Wang was already gathering people. I don't have any other intentions. I just want to ask how Consort Rue Wang could predict the future." Consort Rue Wang glared at her. "What do you mean? Are you suspecting that I purposely broke that bridge?" "I'm not that black-hearted." The Crown Prince Consort asked, "Then how did you know?" The third Prince Consort choked. Actually, she also didn't understand how Miss Gu knew. She had already left after saving people. She was also worried that Miss Gu had something to do with the broken cable bridge, so she had never mentioned her to anyone out of caution. The medical center hadn't opened yet, and she didn't know where Miss Gu lived. The Crown Prince Consort pursed her lips and continued to copy Buddhist scriptures. Consort Rue Wang realized that she had been led by the nose and flew into a rage out of humiliation. She quickly regained her senses and said, "Do you think that Imperial Father didn't investigate? That bridge looks like it hasn't been repaired for a long time. You also drove all the pilgrims there. It would be strange if nothing happened." His Majesty did investigate, and there were no traces of tampering. However, the Crown Prince Consort still didn't show the frustration that Consort Rue Wang wanted. Consort Rue Wang narrowed her eyes. It wasn't easy for her to suppress her. How could she not see that dazed look? Consort Rue Wang put her elbows on the table and slowly approached her. "Actually, I just heard about something not long ago. I don't know if it's true, so I came to ask you." The Crown Prince Consort ignored her. Consort Rue Wang said, "I heard that on the night that the young Duke had an accident, he was waiting for you at the Imperial College. If that's true, then you killed him." The Crown Prince Consort's brush made a hissing sound and drew a long ink mark on the paper. "Digression, there's still one more update. See you at 8. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1142656447. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 172. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. The news of the cable bridge collapse quickly spread in the streets. Even the old matriarch and the old chancellor knew about it. However, their child was fine, so the two didn't look into it too deeply. Next month was the spring examination. Although the Imperial College hadn't started school yet, Gu Jiao would urge her husband to study every day. Xiao Lu Lang, who was pressed into the study, had unspeakable bitterness. On the 10th day of the lunar month, Gu Jiao went to the Marquis's estate. She didn't tell Madame Yao about the shocking events at home. Nanny Fong came to Jade Water Alley every few days, so she knew a bit. Gu Jiao told her not to say anything. Nanny Fong listened to Gu Jiao more and more now, so she really didn't say a word. Madame Yao's condition was good. Gu Jiao thought that if this continued, it wouldn't be long before she could stop taking antidepressants. The flowers in the plum garden have bloomed. Let's go take a walk in the plum garden, Madame Yao said to her daughter. Gu Jiao grunted, "Okay." After a pause, she thought of something and said to Nanny Fong, "Call Gu Jinyu over." "Ah." Nanny Fong was stunned. Didn't eldest miss always get along with second miss? Why did she suddenly call her over? Madame Yao also looked at her daughter in surprise, then said to Nanny Fong, "Go." Yes. Nanny Fong went to Gu Jinyu's courtyard. When she heard that Madame Yao and Gu Jiao had called her to visit the plum garden, she didn't say anything. She changed her clothes and went. Recently, because of the broken bridge incident, the harem was more peaceful than in previous years. Every year, Consort Shu would call her into the palace to accompany her at this time, but not this year. She went to the plum garden. Seeing Madame Yao and Gu Jiao sitting intimately together, her heart ached, but she smiled and walked over. "Mother, older sister." Madame Yao's gaze fell on her thin jacket, and she said angrily, "Why did you come out wearing so little? Aren't you afraid of catching a cold? How do your maidservants serve you?" Gu Jinyu smiled innocently. "I was too anxious to see mother and elder sister. I was too happy and forgot." Yao She quickly had the madam servants bring her a cloak and put it on. Gu Jinyu looked at Gu Jiao and asked gently, "So elder sister likes plum blossoms?" "Okay." Gu Jiao answered perfunctorily. Gu Jinyu continued, "Then I'll pluck a few stalks and place them in a vase for elder sister." "No need." She didn't really like him. Yao She walked for a while before she could no longer continue. Seeing that the two sisters were in a good mood, she said to the two of them, "I'm going to sit in the pavilion for a while. You can give me your rewards. Don't worry about me." Gu Jinyu thought that Gu Jiao would refuse. After all, Gu Jiao never liked to be with her. But Gu Jiao didn't. Gu Jiao walked forward silently. Gu Jinyu was a little confused. Did this sister take the wrong medicine today? She followed her suspiciously. Gu Jiao walked and walked until they left Plum Garden. "Where does elder sister want to go?" Gu Jinyu asked with a smile. "Just walking around," Gu Jiao said. Mentioning this, Gu Jinyu felt a sense of superiority. Marquis Ding An's manor is very large. Apparently, it was once the residence of a prince. Later, it was bestowed to grandfather by the previous emperor. Grandfather likes the fish pond in front the most. Does elder sister want to go take a look? Yes. Gu Jiao was surprisingly cooperative. Gu Jinyu was shocked again. She brought Gu Jiao to the pavilion next to the fish pond. There was fish food there all year round. When the masters of the manor came here, they could use it to feed the small fish. But now that the lake had frozen over, it was not easy to feed them. Gu Jinyu, if elder sister likes the manor, you can consider moving back. I can give Qingye Yuan to elder sister. What's over there? Gu Jiao suddenly pointed to the back of the mountain and asked. Gu Jinyu's words were interrupted and she was displeased, but she still patiently replied, "It's the back of the mountain. My 3 brothers often go there." Gu Jiao, who went there today? There was movement in the back of the mountain, but Gu Jinyu could not hear it with her hearing. It seems to be second brother. Gu Jinyu remembered that when she came over from her courtyard, she saw second brother go in the direction of the back of the mountain. "Madam is calling for you," Gu Jiao said. "Ah." Gu Jinyu looked back. "How come I didn't hear it?" Gu Jiao's expression did not change. "I think I heard it." Gu Jinyu. "Then, does elder sister want to go back?" Gu Jiao. "I don't want to." Gu Jinyu. Talking to this person was always enough to anger her to death, even if the other party was not insulting her. Gu Jinyu pinched her fingers and said, "Then elder sister, wait for me here. I'll be right back." After Gu Jinyu left, Gu Jiao turned around and went to the back of the mountain. Gu Chengfeng was picking fruits in the back of the mountain. For some reason, Gu Chenglin insisted on eating the wild fruits in the back of the mountain. This kind of fruit was red and slightly smaller than hawthorn. It could be grown in the snow and did not taste good, but Gu Chenglin was a child and loved to eat this kind of strange thing. Gu Chengfeng was picking when he suddenly felt a murderous aura coming towards him. His figure dodged the attack. Then, he tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and quickly turned around. When he saw that the person who came was Gu Jiao, his expression instantly froze. Gu Jiao raised her hand and broke off an icicle hanging from a tree branch. It was as long as an arm. She used the icicle as a blade and coldly slashed it at Gu Changfeng. Gu Changfeng was vigilant to see if she had attracted anyone else and almost did not dodge. Gu Jiao did not show any mercy. If not for his good reflexes, his throat would have been pierced by the icicle. "What are you doing?" Gu Changfeng gritted his teeth and asked. Gu Jiao weighed the icicle in her hand and fiercely swung it at the other party. Gu Changfeng finally took out his hidden weapons. One of the hidden weapons smashed the icicle and the other two flew towards Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao's waist bent backward at an incredible angle. The hidden weapon flew past her flat waist and abdomen and nailed into the parasol tree behind her with 2 thuds. She could dodge that? Gu Changfeng narrowed his eyes. "That day, you secretly took off my mask?" "You're wrong." Gu Jiao straightened up and looked at him. "I didn't do it secretly, I did it openly." Gu Changfeng. Footsteps came from the other side. Gu Changfeng thought of the hidden weapons he left on the tree and hurriedly flew over to retrieve them, but Gu Jiao kicked them away. Gu Changfeng knelt on one knee and slid back a dozen steps in the snow, but he was not injured. Gu Jiao was very satisfied. "You can really take a beating." Gu Changfeng. The footsteps were approaching. Gu Changfeng was not in the mood to continue fighting and quickly left. However, Gu Jiao took a step forward and pulled him down from the sky. Gu Changfeng had too many scruples and could not use his fists and feet. He was pulled into a small wooden house by Gu Jiao. Yao Shi had poisoned concubine Mother Ling in this room. The person who came was Gu Chongqing. He heard the noise at the back of the mountain and came to check it out. But there was no one. But there were footprints on the snow and traces of a fight. He did not find the hidden weapons on the Chinese parasol tree for the time being. Gu Changfeng looked at him nervously and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. "I'll give you a chance." Gu Jiao crossed her arms. "Answer my question. Otherwise, I can save you and bury you again." "Ha, if you had the ability, why didn't you do it earlier?" "I dare to do it, but do you?" Gu Changfeng choked. He looked at Gu Chongqing who was investigating in the snow. "What do you want to know?" Gu Jiao asked. "There's a person called a Hang in the Xianping Marquis residence. If he's not a servant, who is he?" Gu Changfeng looked at her warily. "Who are you? Why are you inquiring about the Xianping Marquis residence?" Gu Jiao said calmly, "Just answer." Gu Chongqing came under the Chinese parasol tree and only needed to turn around to find the hidden weapons on the tree. Gu Changfeng clenched his fists and said coldly, "The only one with the word Hang in his name is the young Marquis of Zhaodu who has already passed away. His name is Xiao Heng." Gu Jiao, which one is Heng? Gu Changfeng, may you hang. Oh. Gu Jiao touched her chin and was very satisfied with the word hang. She tilted her little head. She looked a bit cute. Gu Changfeng turned his face away. Crazy, this girl was an assassin. How was she cute? Gu Jiao reached out her hand to him again. "What are you doing?" Gu Changfeng asked. Gu Jiao glanced at Gu Chongqing outside the room. 1,000 tales and I won't tell anyone about you. Gu Chengfeng's eyelids jumped. 1,000 tales. Why don't you go rob someone? Gu Jiao moved to open the door. Gu Chengfeng's breathing stopped. I don't have that much banknotes on me. Gu Jiao, write an IOU. Gu Chengfeng, there's no pen and paper here. Gu Jiao took out a charcoal pencil and a small notebook from the small pouch her great-aunt made for her. She opened it to a blank page and handed it to him. Here. Gu Chengfeng. If looks could kill, Gu Chengfeng would have already killed Gu Jiao 100 times. Gu Chengfeng gritted his teeth and wrote the IOU. Is this okay? Gu Jiao finished reading the IOU and made sure there were no word traps. She nodded with satisfaction and put away the charcoal pencil and notebook. Gu Chengfeng secretly let out a sigh of relief and continued to observe his brother's movements. The next second, Gu Jiao raised her foot and aimed it at his butt. She kicked him out. I only promised not to tell anyone about you. I didn't say I wouldn't kick you out, right? Digression. Countdown to the end of the month. Don't waste the monthly votes. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642/8264286/1142651113. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 173. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more fully. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Gu Chengfeng stumbled out and fell into the snow, falling at Gu Chongqing's feet. Gu Chongqing, Gu Chengfeng. Gu Chengfeng was too careless. He didn't expect that girl to be so despicable. She took his IOU and kicked him out. Gu Chongqing frowned and looked strangely at his brother lying on the ground. What are you doing? As soon as he said that, Gu Jiao walked out of the wooden house. Gu Chongqing's expression became even more strange. Gu Chengfeng had never been schemed against like this before, nor had he been so humiliated. This girl. Was she taking revenge for that day when he schemed against her? Gu Chengfeng got up from the snow angrily. He glanced at Gu Jiao and said angrily, "It's nothing. I accidentally fell." Gu Chongqing asked, "Why are you here?" Gu Chengfeng said, "I came to pick fruits for third brother." There was indeed a basket on the ground and scattered red fruits. These were Gu Qinglin's favorite, and Gu Chongqing had picked them for him before. Gu Chongqing looked at Gu Jiao. "What about you?" "Passing by," Gu Jiao said. "Passing by?" Gu Chongqing looked at the traces of a fight in the snow and thought that the two of them might have fought before. But soon, he felt that this guess wasn't very reliable. He had seen Gu Jiao's skills before. It was more than enough to beat up a weak scholar like Gu Chengfeng. So, if she really did make a move, Gu Chengfeng would already be half dead. "Did you see anyone else here?" Gu Chongqing still felt that some expert had come here. Gu Chengfeng decisively denied. "No." Gu Jiao came to the bottom of the wutong tree, one hand slowly reaching for the hidden weapon on the tree, and the corner of his lips curled up sinisterly. Gu Chengfeng's eyebrows jumped. 1,000 taels. Gu Chongqing frowned and looked at his younger brother. "What did you say? What 1,000 taels?" Cold sweat broke out all over Gu Chengfeng's body. He retracted his gaze, composed himself, and said to his eldest brother, I've taken a fancy to something. I want 1,000 taels." "What's so expensive?" Gu Chongqing asked. Their family didn't lack money, and he never mistreated his two younger brothers in terms of basic necessities. However, there was a limit to everything, and they couldn't be too extravagant. Gu Chengfeng opened his mouth and said with a calm expression, "It's an antique painting." Gu Jiao pulled out the hidden weapon and put it in his pocket. Soon, she looked at the second hidden weapon and smiled evilly. Gu Chengfeng's entire body felt unwell. Add another 1,000 taels. This brother of hers must have taken the wrong medicine. Gu Chongqing raised his hand and touched his forehead. He didn't have a fever. He was just sweating. "I remembered wrong. The other party said 2,000 taels." Gu Chengfeng tried his best to cover up his lie. "I was just wondering if you have any money to lend me." Gu Chongqing sternly refused. "No, you're not allowed to buy such expensive things." Gu Chengfeng, "Oh." Gu Jiao pulled out the second hidden weapon and put it in her pocket. She took out her small notebook and charcoal pencil and went in front of Gu Changfeng. I didn't study much, and there are a few words that I don't know how to write. I'll have to trouble second young master to write them for me. Gu Changfeng gritted his teeth and took the small notebook. Gu Chongqing's brows furrowed. Gu Changfeng quickly finished writing the IOU and returned the notebook and charcoal pencil to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao put it away with satisfaction. At this moment, Gu Jinyu came over. Elder sister. Elder brother. Second brother. She bowed to the two with a surprised expression, as if she hadn't seen them before. The two brothers weren't very happy at the moment. Gu Changfeng was unhappy because he had been extorted of 3,000 taels. Gu Chongqing didn't know why. The two didn't speak to Gu Jinyu and left with cold expressions. Gu Chongqing had clearly brushed past Gu Jiao, but he seemed to have thought of something and paused in his steps. He turned back and said to Gu Jiao, I also studied. Gu Jiao. After the two brothers left, Gu Jinyu walked forward. His eyes shifted as he asked, Elder sister, why are you here? What did eldest brother and second brother say to you just now? I think second brother even wrote some words for you. What did he write? Nothing. Gu Jiao tied the ribbon of the embroidered pouch. Gu Jinyu clenched her fingers. Ever since the broken porcelain vase incident, the three brothers in the residence hadn't spoken to her for a long time. But just now, she had seen eldest brother, second brother and Gu Jiao talking here for a long time. She tightened her grip on her handkerchief and said gently to Gu Jiao, Elder sister, Mother doesn't like us interacting with the three brothers. Don't talk to them in the future, and don't go near them. Mother will be unhappy. Let's go back. Gu Jiao didn't reply and turned to walk back to the plum garden. Gu Jinyu's face darkened with jealousy as she looked at her dashing back. Big brother. Gu Changfeng, who had been walking halfway, suddenly spoke. Have you seen that girl? You didn't ask who she was just now. Although that girl had come to the residence a few times, she had only visited Madame Yao and had never paid respects to the old madam or her brothers. He had seen her because Gu Jinyu and Ling Shuixian had broken eldest brother's porcelain vase. She had accompanied Madame Yao to the courtyard to pick up Gu Jinyu. But at that time, eldest brother had been practicing swordplay at the back of the mountain. By the time eldest brother had returned to the courtyard, she had already left the residence. Could it be that the two of them had acknowledged each other at that time? And had instantly turned from enemies to friends? He hadn't sensed any repulsion towards that girl from eldest brother today. Gu Chongqing paused and said, I have. Gu Changfeng, when? Gu Chongqing, why are you asking this? I haven't asked you yet. Why were you with her at the back of the mountain just now? Were you fighting in the room? Gu Changfeng cleared his throat. Why would I fight with her? I'm her older brother, after all. Why would I bully her? But if she isn't my younger sister at all, then it's a different matter. After that, the two brothers didn't speak again. Gu Chengfeng's courtyard was closer, so he arrived first. The moment he stepped over the threshold, he suddenly turned around and looked meaningfully at Gu Chongqing. Eldest brother, you didn't say just now that we only have one younger brother and no younger sister. Gu Chongqing's pupils shrank. Gu Chengfeng smiled coldly. Eldest brother, have you forgotten how mother died? Gu Chongqing opened his mouth and stopped talking. Gu Chengfeng snorted and turned to enter the room. Gu Chenglin had fallen asleep on Gu Chengfeng's bed. Obviously, he was too bored waiting for fruit and fell asleep. Gu Chengfeng looked at him with a complicated expression and walked over to cover him with a blanket. After a while, the servant reported that concubine Ling had arrived. The late madam had passed away early, so concubine Ling had been taking care of the three brothers all these years. Gu Chongqing was more independent and had been by the old duke's side all year round. He wasn't as close to concubine Ling as the Gu brothers. Concubine Ling carried a food box and entered the room with a smile on her face. She saw Gu Chenglin on the bed and smiled in surprise. Oh, why is Lin sleeping? Gu Chengfeng invited her to sit at the table. It's so cold today. Why did Concubine Ling come over? Concubine Ling smiled gently. The kitchen roasted venison. I brought some over. By the way, you don't look well these days. Do you miss your mother? Sister's death anniversary is coming soon. I was thinking of taking the three of you to the cemetery to light incense for her. Gu Chengfeng nodded. I'll listen to Concubine Ling. When Concubine Ling first entered the Marquis's mansion, the three brothers were actually a little repulsed by her. But Concubine Ling said to them, I didn't enter the mansion to replace Sister as your mother. I came to take care of you for Sister. From now on, I will treat you as my own flesh and blood. I won't give birth to annoying younger siblings for you. I only have 3 children, and that is you. Concubine Ling did it. She had been devoted to the 3 brothers all these years. She was more like a mother than a real mother. It was only because they already had a place for their mother in their hearts that they couldn't treat Concubine Ling like a real mother. However, it was also because of this that they felt guilty and wanted to make it up to Concubine Ling in other ways. Gu Chengfeng once asked Concubine Ling if she wanted anything. At that time, he thought that as long as Concubine Ling asked, he would even get the position of head wife for her. But Concubine Ling shook her head. She patted his head and said gently, Concubine Ling doesn't want anything. As long as the 3 of you are well, Concubine Ling will be satisfied. Such a selfless and kind woman was much better than that evil woman, Yao Shi. Yao Shi killed their mother, stole their father, and gave birth to an annoying younger sister and brother with their father. Their father no longer had any eyes for them. There was a saying that was right. If you had a stepmother, you would have a stepfather. Every time Gu Yan argued with them, regardless of whether it was their fault or not, their father would only punish them. Their father couldn't bear to touch a single hair on Gu Yan's head. When their mother was alive, she said that she loved plum blossoms the most. Their father found it troublesome. It went in one ear and out the other. After Yao Shi entered the manor, she only took a few more glances at a plum blossom. Their father specially made a plum garden for Yao Shi. Towards Yao Shi and her child, Gu Chengfeng was both jealous and hateful. However, their father didn't seem to like Yao Shi's biological daughter. Instead, he doted on Gu Jinyu, who had been by his side since young. This was really interesting. Feng. Concubine Ling called out to him. Ah. Gu Chengfeng came back to his senses. Concubine Ling smiled. Do you have any objections to what I said just now? Gu Chengfeng said seriously, No, Concubine Ling has always done things well. Just do as Concubine Ling says. Concubine Ling stood up and said gently, Okay, then I'll get someone to prepare the offerings. This was a great opportunity to take back her position. She would definitely do it beautifully. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/114233364. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 174. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. In Gu Chongqing's study, the candlelight flickered. A secret guard entered in a flash and bowed to him with cupped hands. Your Highness. Gu Chongqing's face was hidden in the dark, and his entire person seemed cold. He looked at the shadow guard. How is the investigation going? The shadow guard bowed. We haven't found them. Gu Chongqing's thick brows furrowed. Not a single one? Back then, my mother had at least 7 or 8 servant girls and 4 or 5 nannies in her room. How come we can't find them? This was really strange. Just like the servants that accompanied Yao Shi when she gave birth, they had all disappeared. Yao Shi didn't have many servants with her when she gave birth. There were 2 young servant girls and an old nanny. The old nanny had passed away, and the young servant girls had married far away and couldn't be found. Yao Shi didn't have a high birth, so her servant girls didn't have a strict background. However, Madame Ling Ling's servants had all been carefully selected and could be traced back to the previous 3 generations. It was impossible for them to disappear without a trace. The shadow guard said, "Those were the servants that the previous madam brought over from her maternal family. If we really want to investigate, we have to start with the Ling family." However, the Ling family was Gu Chongqing's tenant. He had always trusted them. If he really wanted to investigate, he couldn't get over it. "Investigate," he said. The shadow guard was startled. Gu Chongqing said seriously, "I need the truth." The shadow guard looked deeply at the air and bowed. "Yes." After the shadow guard left, Gu Chongqing took out the evidence from that year, the letter that Yao Shi had written to Marquis Gu. The letter said that Madame Ling Ling's illness wouldn't last much longer. When would Marquis Gu marry her? She didn't have a high birth. If this marriage wasn't settled early, there might be changes in the future. The meaning of the letter was that the 2 already had an affair, and it was taking advantage of Madame Ling Ling's illness and Yao Shi coming to take care of her. If a person really did that, then she must be a scheming and vicious woman. But if she wasn't, then what kind of terrifying existence was the person who forged this letter? Moreover, it was not just the letter. Someone had personally seen Yao Shi enter Marquis Gu's study. Did the witness make a mistake, or was he instructed by someone? Who could order the servants around Madame Ling Jr.? Gu Chongqing's heart was in a mess. He got up and put the letter back into the box. He opened the door of the study and walked out. Light shui floated outside. He mounted his steed and left the Marquis estate, galloping in the wind and snow. He didn't deliberately think about where to go, but the horse stopped in front of the house in Jadewater Alley. The gate of the house was open, and lanterns were lit in the hall and in the courtyard. From his point of view, he could see several children sitting in the snow, unafraid of the cold. They seemed to be playing cards of leaves. Gu Yan's face was covered with drawings of turtles and tortoises, and there were also quite a few stickers. Little Jing Kong's face was very clean, and there was nothing on it. There was also a young boy of 13 or 14 years old. Gu Chongqing had been here before, and he had taken care of Gu Yan for a night. But at that time, Gu Shaoshun also had a pox and was recuperating in the room. So they didn't meet each other. But this didn't prevent Gu Chongqing from guessing his identity. Gu Shaoshun had also lost many times when playing cards of leaves, so his face was also covered with drawings of turtles and tortoises. The old lady held the jar of candied plums and walked over while eating. She touched the 3 children's heads one by one to make sure they weren't frozen. Then she continued to eat her candied plums. Gu Chongqing looked at this scene, but he didn't understand. Gu Shaoshun was the child of Gu Jiao's adoptive parents, and little Jing Kong was a little monk adopted from the mountain. Neither of them had any blood relationship with Gu Jiao, but their status in the family was the same as Gu Jiao and Gu Yan. Could it be that they could get along so well even if they weren't their own children? Brother Yan, you cheated again. Gu Yan stole a card and was caught red-handed by little Jing Kong. I didn't. Gu Yan denied seriously. Then what's this? Little Jing Kong decisively found the leaf card that Gu Yan had stuffed in the snow. Gu Yan acted shamelessly. How would I know? I didn't hide it. It's you. It's you. I saw it. The little boy was so angry that he climbed up the stool, put his hands on his waist and stomped his feet. He even jumped up. The 2 of them quarreled fiercely. Their pets also started to quarrel, and the yard was in a mess. Suddenly, Gu Shaoshun looked at the door. Is there someone here? The two of them stopped quarreling and looked at the door together. Gu Chongqing was originally watching quietly from the side, but he was so engrossed that he actually stood at the door. It was too late to avoid him. The two of them saw him. Wow! Big brother! Little Jing Kong instantly forgot about his unhappiness just now. He jumped down from the stool and ran towards Gu Chongqing. Gu Yan wanted to go over too, but he suddenly thought of something. He threw away the leaf card in his hand and pulled the paper off his face in a flurry. After that, he remembered that he had drawn a turtle on his face. He pasted the paper on his face again in despair. Big brother! Make a fortune! Make a fortune! Little Jing Kong cupped his hands and politely wished him a happy new year. Since all the neighbors said that when they came to visit, he learned how to do it. Gu Chongqing's gaze softened. What are you doing? Little Jing Kong said, playing the leaf card. Great aunt taught him. Old Madam Yong said, Little Jing Kong, who is it? Little Jing Kong turned around and said, It's Big Brother. Old Madam Yong knew who it was and said, Come in and have dinner with us. Her voice was not loud, and her tone was not harsh, but there was an irresistible aura about her. Gu Chongqing hesitated for a moment. He did not think of visiting, so he did not bring any gifts. It did not seem appropriate to do so during the new year. Why are you still standing there? Come in. Old Madam Yong said. Yes. Gu Chongqing walked in. He first greeted old Madam Yong. Strangely, he greeted her as a ruler and his minister. Even he himself was stunned by his own subconscious action. Fortunately, old Madam Yong and the others did not mind. Gu Yan lowered his head so that old Madam Yong could not see the turtle on his face. Gu Chongqing looked at Gu Yan's timid look and could not help but chuckle. Hearing his laughter, Gu Yan's entire body felt unwell. She decisively turned around in the snow and turned her back to him, giving him a big look at the back of her head. The old chancellor took Xiao Lulang to visit his critically ill old friend. Dinner was prepared by Gu Jiao. It was not as lavish as the Lord Protector's mansion, but it tasted different from when they were young. The atmosphere at the dinner table was not so serious, and the family ate happily. Gu Chongqing even regretted not staying the previous 2 times. After dinner, Little Jing Kong asked him, Big brother, do you want to play cards? I don't know how to play. Gu Chongqing grew up under the strong pressure of old Marquis Gu. The path of growth was very strict, and playing had nothing to do with him. In his mind he should not play and could not play. Otherwise, he would not be a qualified successor. Little Jing Kong tilted his head and said, It's okay, Great Aunt can teach you. Great Aunt is awesome. The 3 of them were all taught by Great Aunt. Little Jing Kong was the smartest one. He could learn as soon as Great Aunt taught him. He often defeated Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshun. Gu Chongqing hesitated. Gu Jiao curved her lips and said, You can play during the new year. Gu Yan also nodded. In fact, even old Madame Gu, who loved her grandson so much, did not tell him that it was okay, he could play. Gu Chongqing seemed to finally break the shackles on his back. He took a deep breath and said, Well. Gu Jiao said, Let's play in Great Aunt's room. It's warm there. I'll get something to eat. Old Madame Gu rolled her eyes. Gu Chongqing's clothes and temperament were extraordinary, and his face was full of righteousness. At the table, one could see that he was a silly man with a lot of money. Old Madame Gu said, Aya, it's too embarrassing to draw a turtle in front of the guests. Give me 10 copper coins, the smallest one. Little Tycoon Jing Kong had just received the rent. There was a lot of money, so there was no pressure at all. Gu Xiaoshun also had some New Year's money from Gu Jiao. Gu Yan was the most miserable. His New Year's money was not enough to pay off Little Jing Kong's debt. He worked in Little Jing Kong and earned money through hard work. He earned more than 10 copper coins a day, and he shoveled chicken poop until his hands went soft. But compared to drawing a turtle in front of Gu Chongqing, he would rather lose his money. At most, he would owe Little Jing Kong another debt and have to shovel chicken poop for him for a few more days. Little Jing Kong. Friendly reminder, your shoveling of chicken poop is scheduled until next year. I really don't know how to. Gu Chongqing blushed with shame. Old Madame Gu never allowed him to lose his will to play games. He didn't even know the leaves and took a long time to figure out which one was which. If I don't play well, please don't mind. In the end, he defeated Little Jing Kong in a second. Little Jing Kong. After playing a few more rounds, Gu Chongqing was still in a state of ambiguity about the rules. Was it better to play this or that? How about this? Then, he played a card and the whole place was bombarded. He himself was baffled by his win. Old Madame Gu was the gambling king of Clearwater Alley. No one in the neighborhood could win money from her. Old Madame Gu didn't believe in heresy and went up to play around. In the end, she was beaten by Gu Chongqing. Old Madame Gu's face was as black as charcoal. Gu Chongqing was embarrassed. No. I really didn't do it on purpose. I won't play this. I'll change to another card. He changed to the smallest card, but unexpectedly, he got the biggest straight. The remaining card was a trump card, so he had to pay double. Old Madame Gu, there were still quick-acting cardio-relieving pills, right? The whole family who knew how to play cards was defeated by Gu Chongqing, a newbie who didn't even understand the rules. Little Jing Kong was covered in dust. He stood there soullessly and was driven crazy by Old Madame Gu. Digression. Can I ask for a guaranteed monthly pass from everyone? I bow and thank you. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/896422826/1142288915. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 175. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Gu Chongqing won so much money that his hands went limp. Old Madame originally wanted to find a spendthrift to empty his wallet, but who knew that she would lose everything. She held Little Jing Kong's head and couldn't wait to howl to the sky. Little Jing Kong, I finally grew a few strands of hair, but you almost blew them all away. Gu Chongqing was like a child who did something bad behind his parents' back. His cold, handsome face was flushed with excitement. No wonder his younger brothers liked to play so much. It was really interesting. Of course, he enjoyed the process, not the money he won. It was already embarrassing to come empty-handed. How could he take away the money? But Old Madame was a gambler. She could afford to win and lose, so she was determined not to accept Gu Chongqing's returned bet. Gu Chongqing thought for a while and wrapped the money as New Year's money for the children. Gu Jiao looked at the crushed money in her hand and asked doubtfully, I have one too? Yes. Gu Chongqing nodded. In his eyes, Gu Jiao and Gu Yen were the same age and were both children. If Gu Yen had one, then she would naturally have one too. Gu Jiao, who had always given out New Year's money to her family, received it for the first time. Actually, most of the money came from Old Madame. She gave out the most money today and lost the most. Although she also received a red packet from Gu Chongqing, she couldn't make ends meet. Old Madame went back to the house and sharpened her kitchen knife. It was time to rob the private stash again. Old Chancellor in the carriage suddenly shivered and felt a chill down his spine. The old friend that the old Chancellor brought Xiao Lulang to visit was surnamed Feng. He was once a third-rank Honglu Temple official, which was on par with the Chancellor of the Imperial College. Of course, the old chancellor was the one who was more respected in front of His Majesty. The old chancellor was more proficient in the study of the dark side of officialdom. He was good at suppressing his opponents and pleasing His Majesty. He even made His Majesty feel that he was a scholar. He really hid it well. Elder Feng was a scholar who was truly devoted to academics. Honglu Temple was the foreign affairs department of Zhao country. Old Feng had become the minister of Honglu Temple with his absolute strength. He was proficient in 6 languages and more than 30 minority dialects. He was a treasure in the language field. His achievements were far more than that. If one were to count them in detail, it would take more than 3 days and 3 nights to finish. It was just that he was too straightforward and simple-minded. He was not suitable for the treacherous officialdom. There was a year when he was framed and was almost charged with treason. It was the old chancellor who thought of ways to protect him, but both he and the old chancellor were deeply aware that the officialdom wasn't suitable for him. Thus, he resigned from his position and devoted himself to academics at home. He had traveled to the great rivers and mountains of the 6 countries. He had been to the farthest desert and climbed the most dangerous Gobi Desert. He was very poor all his life. In order to make a living, his wife had pawned her dowry. To Zhao country, it was a blessing and a fortune for him. But to his wife, marrying such a husband was a lifetime of sorrow. Elder Feng had 3 sons, but they were all mediocre. Of course, it was also possible that Elder Feng only cared about his academics and neglected to nurture his children. Elder Feng felt that he didn't have much time left, so he wrote a letter to the old chancellor. He wanted to ask him to help find a suitable successor. After thinking about it, the old chancellor brought along Xiao Lulang. Elder Feng was paralyzed on the bed. When he heard the footsteps, he said with a hoarse voice, "Brother, you're here?" The old chancellor said to Xiao Lulang, "Wait for me outside for a while." Xiao Lulang agreed. The old chancellor stepped into the room. I'm here. How do you feel today?" Elder Feng's speech was actually not very smooth. He had difficulty pronouncing the words, but his complexion was very rosy, much better. The old chancellor sat down on the chair in front of the bed. "I think so too. In another 2 days, you will be able to get out of bed." Elder Feng shook his head slightly. "My lifespan is coming to an end. I know what to do." The old chancellor sighed secretly. A person who couldn't even speak much suddenly became so energetic. Who wouldn't understand what was going on? "Did you bring the person?" Elder Feng asked. "Yes, he's my disciple." The old chancellor took a look at him and said, "This time, I had to bear the pain and give up my disciple." "That one with the surname Li?" Elder Feng shook his head. No, he's too old." The old chancellor, "No, you're picking him? Which one of you is older?" Headmaster Li wasn't considered old. He wasn't even 40 years old and was in the prime of his life. Although the old chancellor brought along his youngest disciple, his eldest disciple was despised by Elder Feng. He couldn't help but mock, "Why, are you looking for someone so young that you can squeeze water out of it?" Elder Feng snorted. The old chancellor actually understood what he meant. The younger a person was, the more time he had. The knowledge he had in his lifetime wasn't something that could be studied in 10 or 20 years. "Come in," the old chancellor said to the door. Xiao Lulang walked in. Elder Feng's gaze landed on Xiao Liulong's face and his body stiffened. Xiao Lulang had attended Elder Feng's class when he was young, so Elder Feng definitely knew him. However, Elder Feng's next sentence almost choked the old chancellor to death. "Am I dead? Why are you dead too?" I'm finished. There's no one to inherit my legacy." Xiao Lulang, the old chancellor. The old chancellor spent a lot of effort to make Elder Feng believe that the young man in front of him wasn't dead. As for why he wasn't dead, the old chancellor didn't say and Elder Feng didn't ask. Having lived to this age, he knew his destiny. There were some things that he was well aware of but couldn't investigate further. Elder Feng was like that and so was the old chancellor. The old chancellor asked, "Are you satisfied with this successor?" Satisfied. Elder Feng was grinning from ear to ear. Back then, he had also taken a liking to this child. If the old chancellor didn't have the advantage of being close to him, he would have snatched him to be his disciple. The biggest regret in his life was that he wasn't able to take in a disciple that was as ambitious as he wanted. Now, everything was perfect. Since things happened in a hurry, everything was simple. Under the old chancellor's guidance, Xiao Lulang performed a simple apprenticeship ceremony. Elder Feng was paralyzed from the neck down, so it was difficult for him to eat. The old chancellor symbolically let him touch his cup, which was considered as drinking the apprenticeship tea. From then on, Xiao Lulang was his successor. Elder Feng asked his wife to bring his lifetime collection of literature and moved it all to the old chancellor's carriage. The old chancellor saw that the study room was empty and felt embarrassed. Sister-in-law, do you want to keep some for yourselves? Old Madame Feng waved her hand. Hurry up and move it away. I beg you. I have been burdened by these things for my whole life. Please don't torture me any more. The old chancellor bowed with his hands folded in front. Okay, I will visit sister-in-law again when I have the chance. Xiao Lulang also bowed to old Madame Feng like a junior. That night, Elder Feng passed away. Probably because he had fulfilled his wish, he passed away peacefully. This matter was a huge blow to the old chancellor. He suddenly realized that he was also a person who had half of his body buried in the soil. Actually, if it wasn't for his little benefactor, he would have died that time on the mountain. Why did God arrange for him to live? The old chancellor looked up at the starry sky in the courtyard and pondered about life. The old lady came over with a knife to rob him. Before she opened her mouth, the old chancellor handed over the money bag. The old lady said weirdly, "Did you take the wrong medicine?" The old chancellor didn't look at her. He still looked up at the endless starry sky. Zhuang Jins, what do you think people live for? We don't bring it with us when we are born and we don't take it with us when we die. Zhuang Jins? What a familiar name. The old lady also looked up at the starry sky. At the other end of the starry sky, there seemed to be a distant memory calling her across the years. Her mood suddenly became heavy, and her entire person became melancholy and melancholy. She lowered her head and counted the money bag. She became more melancholy. Hua. You are deliberately mystifying here so that I can give less money to you. These few copper coins are enough for me to play a few rounds of cards. How much more do you hide? Give them all to me. The old chancellor. Can't I get away with this? After robbing the small amount of money, the old lady went back next door with satisfaction. The old chancellor's plan to numb the old lady was real. He sighed that life wasn't fake. He was really worried. He was afraid that he would die like Elder Feng one day. Elder Feng's obsession in the world was his legacy. If there was someone outstanding enough to inherit his legacy, Elder Feng would die without regrets. He was different. He had someone he couldn't let go of. In the past, he thought that person had died, so he didn't have any attachment to this world. But now, his Aheng was still alive. He didn't dare get sick. He didn't dare die. He didn't feel at ease leaving her alone in this world to face everything alone. Aheng, what else can Master do for you? On the 15th of the first month, after the Spring Lantern Festival, the Imperial College and the various large academies in the capital began to open their classes. The government offices and the court were all open. After a good new year, the first day of court was usually more harmonious. The reports that the civil and military officials chose were more gentle and meaningful. In short, it was to get a good omen. The court couldn't be messed up right after the new year. It was inauspicious. In the Zheng Manor, Zhang Sai also planned to go out. He had already received news from Imperial Tutor Zhuang. The matter of the Chancellor had been settled. His Majesty would confer the title of Prince Ning on the first day of the new year. At the same time, he would be conferred the title of Chancellor of the Imperial College. Congratulations, Master. The housekeeper said. Zhang Sai proudly raised his chin. What is there to congratulate me about? If it weren't for those troublesome matters, this lord would have been the Chancellor of the Imperial College long ago. The housekeeper said, Master is right. But it's not too late now. That's true. Zhang Sai smiled. Thinking of something, he asked, "Have the clothes been ironed?" The housekeeper quickly said, "It's done, it's done. We just need to wait for the court's insignia to be issued before having them embroidered for you." The Imperial College's clothes were specially made by the court, but Zhang Sai could not wait and had them made long ago. It was just that they did not have the insignia of the Imperial College's chancellor. "Bring them out for me to see," Zhang Sai said. "Yes." The housekeeper smiled and brought the clothes over. Zhang Sai's eyes glowed with green light. The housekeeper said, "Master, do you want to try them on for size?" Zhang Sai cleared his throat. "Cough this, that's fine. If the size is not suitable, you can change it in time." The housekeeper smiled and said, "That's reasonable." Zhang Sai could not wait to change into the chancellor's clothes and spread his arms, allowing the housekeeper to admire him. "How is it?" The housekeeper gave him a thumbs up and flattered, "It's suitable, it's suitable. Old master looks so majestic in this set of clothes." Zhang Sai was infuriated. He walked in front of the bronze mirror and looked at himself. He flicked his sleeves and smiled. "All that's left is the insignia." The housekeeper smiled. "You'll have it when you come back from court." Zhang Sai reluctantly took off the chancellor's clothes. After today, he would be able to wear them every day. Zhang Sai arrived at court. The sky was dark and the doors of the imperial palace were not open yet. All the officials were waiting outside. Seeing Zhang Sai come over, the Minister of Personnel first congratulated him, followed by the Minister of Revenue, the Minister of Dependencies, and the others. It was obvious that everyone had heard that Zhang Sai was about to be conferred the title of Chancellor. This was a done deal. Zhang Sai did not even bother to pretend to be modest and smiled as he returned their greetings. His official position was now below the several officials, but after the court session, he would be on equal footing with them. Thus, his salute was now an equal salute. Soon, the palace doors opened. "Lord Zhang, please," an official said with a smile. Zhang Sai smiled and walked into the throne room with his head held high. The first court session of the new year was as harmonious as the previous years. The memorials submitted by the civil and military officials were all praising the emperor's achievements. The emperor was very happy. Similar to the rumors from the palace, he first praised the eldest prince and conferred him the title of Prince Ning. Soon, it was the Imperial College's turn. Since the Imperial College has been reopened, the position of Chancellor cannot remain empty. Fortunately, I already have a suitable candidate in mind. The emperor's dignified voice echoed throughout the throne room. Zhang Sai was so excited that he straightened his back. He had been waiting for this day for so long. He had been waiting. He had been waiting. He had been waiting. At this moment, his feelings could only be compared to that of a married girl. He was like a bride waiting to be married, waiting for the groom to come and bow to him. Then, he saw a eunuch hurriedly walk over and kneel outside the throne room. "Your Majesty, there's a letter for you." A normal letter would not rush to the throne room unless it was extremely urgent. Everyone thought to themselves, could it be that there's another urgent report from the border? "Present it to me," the emperor said. The eunuch presented the letter to the emperor. After reading the letter, the emperor actually stood up from the dragon throne. Everyone was stunned. What kind of major event had happened? Did the border fall? The next second, everyone heard the emperor say excitedly, "The old chancellor has returned to the capital. He sent me a letter and asked if I was well." Zhang Sai's heart cursed. Didn't the old chancellor retire and return to his hometown 800 years ago? What did he mean by writing a letter to seduce the emperor at this juncture? It was an affectionate letter with very particular words and sentences. Roughly translated, it was, "Your Majesty, I haven't seen you for many years. Are you well? Please forgive me for my willfulness. Every time I think of how much Your Majesty loved me, I feel guilty. Now that I'm back, may I ask Your Majesty, is your heart still the same?" A proper green TX. The emperor was so moved that tears filled his eyes. "Let's talk about the chancellor later. Court is dismissed." Zhang's sigh was like a bolt from the blue. Scumbag. Digression. The T is still the old Chancellor's T23333. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642-826/114198307. HTML Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 176. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. His Majesty left the incumbent who was about to take office and left without looking back. He went to find the old Chancellor. The old Chancellor didn't indicate his address on the letter, but His Majesty wouldn't be incapable of this. The person who delivered the letter said that a guest of East Arrival Inn asked him to run an errand. East Arrival Inn. Very good. His Majesty went to East Arrival Inn personally, but when he arrived, the old Chancellor had already left. When did he leave? The Chamberlain beside His Majesty asked. The shopkeeper said, he left for a while. He goes out every day during the day and comes back very late. How many days did he stay here? The Chamberlain asked again. The shopkeeper flipped through the account book and said, 5 nights. East Arrival Inn was a very inconspicuous inn. It belonged to the kind that would be despised even if it was used as a toilet for the emperor. Thinking that the old Chancellor actually stayed in this kind of place for so many days, His Majesty felt deeply pained. The first essential skill of a green tea: act pitiful. The old Chancellor grasped the green tea very well. His Majesty patiently waited for half a day at East Arrival Inn, but he still didn't see the old Chancellor come back. He couldn't really keep waiting. After all, there were still a lot of memorials to deal with in the imperial study. His Majesty could only leave regretfully. It would be fine if he saw the old Chancellor, but he didn't see him. His Majesty always felt that one thing wasn't completed, so he kept muttering in his heart. This was another essential skill of a green tea: to whet the appetite. In the field of thick black tea in the officialdom, the old Chancellor had never disappointed anyone. Back then, he made the former emperor a green tea step by step, and then banished the Demon Empress into the cold palace. Although the Demon Empress came out in less than half a year, he still became the first person in this dynasty to pull down the Demon Empress. As soon as His Majesty left, the old Chancellor returned to the inn. Actually, he didn't go far. He was observing His Majesty in the opposite tea house. "Sir, someone came to see you just now," the shopkeeper said politely. "Yes," the old Chancellor answered without any surprise. The shopkeeper said, "Are you still staying in the inn tonight? Shall I ask someone to prepare dinner? Or should I send her to her room?" The old Chancellor said, "No, I don't want to stay anymore." Wouldn't it be a waste of money if he stayed after achieving his goal? Even though the inn looked shabby, it still cost 200 to 300 copper coins a night. He was short of money recently. He had to pay for his family's expenses and deal with someone's robbery. The thrifty old Chancellor decisively returned the guest room. Next, he would disappear for a while. Only by being neither close nor distant could one scratch one's lungs and heart. Moreover, no one would cherish something that was too easy to obtain. After leaving the imperial court for so long, the Directorate of Imperial College was no longer the Directorate of Imperial College from 3 years ago. He was also no longer the former Chancellor who had nothing to worry about. His enemy was not only Empress Dowager Zhuang, who could wake up at any time. There might be more. He needed His Majesty's absolute reliance. The family in Jadewater Alley knew nothing about the black-bellied old chancellor. The old mistress hadn't seen the old chancellor for a few days and thought that he had slipped away because he didn't want to hand over his secret stash. Great aunt, I'm going to the clinic. Gu Jiao tidied up the house and went to greet the old lady. The clinic opened for business today. The old lady muttered and waved her hand. Go ahead. Gu Jiao looked at her strangely. Great aunt, what's wrong with you? The old lady frowned suspiciously. I'm thinking of my name. Gu Jiao was surprised. Do you remember your name? The old lady shook her head. Your great-uncle said so. Sure enough, they knew each other. They could even call out each other's names. Then what's your name? Gu Jiao asked. Zhuang Jins. The old lady said. Surnamed Zhuang? Gu Jiao was silent. Gu Jiao went to the clinic. The second boss was at his wits' end in the hall. Gu Jiao walked over. What's the matter? The second boss sighed. Before the new year, we ordered a batch of medicinal herbs for the military camp. Originally, we agreed to pay the balance next month. But now, the other party asked us to pay in advance. Otherwise, they won't dare to ship the medicinal herbs to us. Gu Jiao was very strict with the medicinal herbs. The medicinal herbs she made had a higher concentration than other medicinal herbs. Naturally, the amount of medicinal herbs needed was huge. They paid 30% of the deposit before the new year. Although the business of the clinic was good after it opened, the initial investment was too big. They didn't make a profit at all. The 30% deposit was paid by the second boss. The remaining 70% was a few hundred taels of silver. He really couldn't afford it. Gu Jiao lightly said, Oh. She took out a stack of banknotes from her pocket and handed it to him. Here. The second boss thought that Gu Jiao would ask why the other party suddenly changed her mind. But she directly threw the banknotes at him. Too rich, right? The second boss was stunned. You, where did you get so many banknotes? Gu Jiao thought for a moment. I extorted it. The second boss, I also want to extort this much. Please take me. In fact, Gu Chengfeng was not that rich. The silver in his hands was not more than 1,000 taels. The other 2,000 taels were borrowed from someone. In order to repay the money, he began to secretly take private jobs. This was not as simple as shoveling a few pieces of chicken dung. Those tasks were like licking blood on the knife's edge. During the day, he was squeezed by homework. At night, he was squeezed by tasks. He lived a life worse than death. It can be said that he was miserable. On the first day of the new year, there were a lot of things to deal with in the clinic. Gu Jiao and Dr. Song took out some of the medicinal herbs in the cabinet to dry. The second boss was busy with the balance. With the money, he had more confidence to do things. Song Dafu, I'll trouble you with this. Gu Jiao handed the basket of medicinal herbs to him. See if there are any bad ones and which ones need to be thrown away. Dr. Song said, Actually, the weather in the capital is dry. The medicinal herbs are not easy to spoil. A little moisture will not affect the efficacy of the medicine. Just dry them. Gu Jiao said, You still have to pick them out. Dr. Song understood that Gu Jiao's requirements for medicinal herbs were so strict that it made people's hair stand on end. He couldn't say anything more, so he obediently went to pick the medicinal herbs. There were not many patients today. Only 4 came in the morning. When it was close to noon, Dr. Song saw that she was still there, so he busily said, Miss Gu, why are you still here? Don't you need to go back to eat? There were people cooking in the clinic, but Gu Jiao didn't eat in the clinic. She had to go home to cook for the old lady. But now, she has her granduncle, who knows how to cook. Gu Jiao shook her head. No, I'll eat in the clinic today. Dr. Song smiled and said, Hey, then I'll tell the kitchen to cook a few more dishes. Gu Jiao nodded. It was the first working meal of the new year, so it was good to have a sumptuous meal. Gu Jiao continued to bury her head in sorting out the medicinal herbs. Suddenly, a thin man came in. His expression was a little cautious. Excuse me, is there a doctor? Gu Jiao looked up. It was a handsome and delicate man, but he was too thin. His complexion was sallow, and he looked malnourished. Come this way, she said, and was about to lead the man into the clinic, but she heard the man said, No, I'll just get some medicine. No need to see it. Gu Jiao, how do you get the medicine if you don't see it? The man took out a crumpled piece of paper from his starched sleeve. I have a prescription. This man's temperament was not like a homeless person, but his clothes were as shabby as those homeless people. Gu Jiao took the prescription and looked at it, then said to him, This prescription is not suitable for your illness. Huh? The man was startled. But, you don't know what disease I have. How can you conclude that this prescription is not suitable for me? Gu Jiao returned the prescription to him. This piece of paper is so old. It's been used for a long time, right? But your situation doesn't look good at all. If this prescription is effective, you won't be like this now. The man felt pain in his right upper abdomen again. He covered the pain and his brows furrowed tightly together. Alas, appearance is justice. This man is so good-looking, it's a pity to let him die of illness. Gu Jiao stretched out her hand. Give me to me. Huh? The man was in so much pain that he didn't recover for a while. Gu Jiao directly pinched his other hand and put her fingertips on his wrist. The man's face changed color. Men and women shouldn't touch each other. He tried to pull his hand back, but found that he couldn't exert any strength. Do young girls have so much strength these days? After Gu Jiao felt his pulse, she used her hand to open his eyelids. He was so scared that he stepped back again and again. Shopkeeper Wang put a stool behind him in time. He bent his knees and fell on the stool. No girl had ever done this before. He was dumbfounded. Gu Jiao calmly withdrew her hand. Do you often feel dry and bitter, and have an anorexia of oily food? The man nodded. Gu Jiao, how long have you been in pain? The man, 1 or 2 months, I don't remember the specific time. Gu Jiao, have you been taking this prescription? The man shook his head. No, it was another prescription before, but it didn't get better. Later, I changed to another clinic. Gu Jiao frowned. Are there so many quack doctors in the capital? He had chronic cholecystitis, which belonged to the liver and gallbladder syndrome. The intervention of Chinese medicine was very effective. Even Dr. Song, who had just finished his apprenticeship last year, could treat it. However, this man had gone to 2 clinics, but he still couldn't get his prescription right. The man lowered his head and didn't speak. Gu Jiao wrote a prescription and asked the medicine boy to fill it. Miss Gu, it's done. The medicine boy tied the bag of medicine with a straw rope and handed it to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao gave it to the man. 1 dose a day, twice in the morning and twice in the evening. Boil it with martial fire and simmer it slowly for half an hour. Take it for 5 days and come back on the morning of the 6th day. The man didn't immediately reach out to take it, but asked, How much? Gu Jiao, 100 copper coins. The man was surprised. Gu Jiao looked at him. What's wrong? Is it expensive? The man shook his head in disbelief. Are you sure you're not selling fake medicine? Gu Jiao, a dose of medicine only cost 20 copper coins, which was rare in the capital. The prescription itself didn't require expensive herbs. Of course, if a rich person came, they had to get the best medicine. Gu Jiao could also make a dose of medicine that cost 1 tael. The man paid the money and walked out with the bag of medicine. As soon as he stepped out of the door, he was bumped into by someone. He fell to the ground and the medicine bags scattered on the ground. He hurriedly reached out to pick them up, but one of his feet stepped on one of the medicine bags. His thin figure was shrouded in the huge shadow of the other party. His hand paused in the middle of picking up the medicine bag. The other party had a blade of grass in his mouth and looked at him with his hands on his hips. He said carelessly, Oh, isn't this Master Lu? Are you out to buy medicine again? What was it that made him uncomfortable this time? Why don't you talk to us brothers? Can we help you treat it? The kind that doesn't cost money. The men behind him roared with laughter. The man's face turned red in humiliation. He pressed his fingers on the ground, his knuckles faintly turning white. The big man spread his legs and said to the man, "Crawl under my crotch, and I'll buy medicine for you." "Ha ha ha ha. Crawl. Crawl. Crawl." The men fiercely jeered. The man's eyes revealed endless humiliation and fierceness. All of a sudden, a small figure walked out and sent that burly man flying with a kick. "Who are you?" One of the men rushed over. Gu Jiao didn't want to dirty her hands by touching him, so she picked up the stick at the door and hid him away. The rest of the men weren't too troublesome to deal with. In the blink of an eye, everyone was beaten down. The big man was the best, but he didn't have the strength to fight back. He could only barely stand up with his legs trembling. He looked at Gu Jiao with fear and hatred. Where did this bitch come from? Gu Jiao casually waved her hand and swung the stick at the big man. 4 teeth in the big man's mouth were smashed. The big man was in so much pain that his whole body twisted. He covered his mouth full of blood and roared incoherently, "Do you know who we are?" Gu Jiao said indifferently, "I don't care who you are. He's a patient of the Miracle Hand Hall. You caused trouble in front of the Miracle Hand Hall, so you deserve to be beaten." The big man laughed fiercely. "You don't know who he is, right? He's Lu Yixing. All the doctors in Beijing don't dare to treat him. If you dare to treat him, you'll have a good time." Digression: The Lu family appeared in the chapter of 114 Mutual Recognition. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/114194867. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 177. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that you can't find on the internet are all available here. Lu Yixing? This name sounds familiar. But Gu Jiao can't remember where she heard it before. Gu Jiao asked someone to get him the medicine again and didn't take his money. Lu Yixing held the medicine and staggered away. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly turned around and said, "Maybe you really shouldn't have treated me." He had been deceived so many times. Every time, he had hope, but in the end, he was disappointed. But this time, he knew that the medicine she gave him was real. Countless times, he hoped that the medicine they gave him was real. Only this time, he hoped that it was fake. Lu Yixing walked away. Gu Jiao returned to the medical center. In the medical center, other than Dr. Song and shopkeeper Wang who were confused, the rest of the workers all lowered their heads and didn't dare to say anything. "Xiao Gu, I'm back." Dongjia walked into the medical center with a smile. "It's really different to have money. You're speaking more confidently." "Huh? What's wrong with you? You all look so pale. Did something happen?" Shopkeeper Wang was puzzled and said, "Just now, a patient called Lu Yixing came. He was troubled and didn't allow Miss Gu to treat him." Dongjia's expression changed. Then did Xiao Gu treat him?" Shopkeeper Wang said, "Yes, she treated him. She also cleaned up those bastards." Dongjia pinched his philtrum and fainted. When Dongjia woke up, he was already lying in his room on the 2nd floor. He quickly went downstairs to find Gu Jiao. The medicine boy went to eat, and Gu Jiao was filling the medicine for a patient. Dongjia grabbed her wrist. "Little Song, come here and fill the medicine for this patient." "Okay." Dr. Song put down the half-dried medicine in the backyard and went to the hall to fill the medicine for others. Dongjia pulled Gu Jiao to the backyard. He treated Gu Jiao as his sister and did not have any other thoughts. He said to Gu Jiao, "Tell me, what did Lu Yixing look like today?" "It looks good," Gu Jiao said. The second boss knew his little Gu's taste. She had seen Xiao Liulong's stunning beauty many times, and with Gu Yan beside her, she still praised him for his good looks. It seemed like he really was the rumored Lu Yixing. The second boss felt that his life was in despair. It's over, it's completely over." Gu Jiao asked, "Who is this Lu Yixing? Why can't you treat him? He's from the family of the dethroned crown prince." With a bitter face, the second boss told Gu Jiao about the current situation in the capital. The current emperor was not the crown prince, but the son of noble consort Lu. Later, Empress Dowager Zhuang defeated the Lu family and dethroned the crown prince. Then, Consort Jing's adopted son was put on the throne. Gu Jiao listened carefully. The second boss continued, the Lu family was not convinced, so they plotted to kill the current emperor. Not only did they use the method of revenge on the emperor and Empress Dowager, but they also secretly had someone make a dragon robe for the dethroned crown prince. After the matter was exposed, the Lu family was either executed or exiled. The crown prince and his wife were imprisoned and died within a few years. The evidence was conclusive, and no one in the court dared to speak for the Lu family. This Lu Yixing is the only legitimate son of the Lu family. Now you understand why the doctors in the capital don't dare to treat him, right? Gu Jiao nodded. No wonder the prescriptions he got before were fake. The second boss glanced at his little Gu. Don't you have anything to say? For example, he wanted to repent. Why did he save this jinx that everyone wanted to avoid? Gu Jiao thought about it and said seriously, "Oh, don't put too much salt in tomorrow's food. It's too salty." The second boss was speechless. After Gu Jiao sorted out the herbs, she went back to her yard to drink some water. The moment she picked up the teacup, an idea flashed through her mind. I remember where I heard this name before. In her dream. In that miserable dream, she returned to the Marquis's mansion. She lived in the manor for 10 years, and no one cared about her. The year before she died, they encountered a huge snowstorm. A group of people passed by and hid in their manor for a while. At the time, a man in his 30s asked her for a cup of hot tea. That man had an air of nobility about him, and every movement of his was filled with the sharpness of a superior person. He thanked her sincerely. "I am Lu Yixing. Thank you for the tea." When she took back the teacup, she accidentally touched his fingertips. It was as cold as bone. 2 hours later, the snowstorm stopped, and he left with the guards. Before she got into the carriage, she vaguely heard someone call his name. Lu Xiang. As the saying goes, good news never leaves the house, but bad news travels 1,000 miles. The news of Lu Yixing being treated at the Miracle Hands Hall quickly spread. In the afternoon, many people came to the Miracle Hands Hall to watch the show. Needless to say, they were not disappointed. In the evening, the man who was beaten up by Gu Jiao came back. He was followed by a group of guards. They did not look like government officials, but more like the guards of some rich family. The burly man waved his hand and pointed, glaring at Gu Jiao. "Lord Tong. It's her. She beat all of us up." The leader of the guards, who was called Lord Tong, looked in the direction he was pointing. He saw a young girl around 14 or 15 years old. He was puzzled. "Which one?" "Her. That girl," the man said. God Tong frowned. He looked at Gu Jiao, then looked at the man. "Are you telling me that you were beaten up like dogs by a little girl?" What dog?" The man refused to admit it. But when he thought about how they were looking for their teeth on the ground, they were indeed more miserable than stray dogs. Bodyguard Tong asked, "Are there any other experts behind her? Did she beat him up herself?" He did not believe it. The man was so anxious that he became angry. "Lord, it's really her." Bodyguard Tong walked over and walked into the medical hall. The commoners immediately surrounded him, blocking the entrance of the medical hall so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. I heard that you injured someone. Guard Tong looked at Gu Jiao, who was looking at the account book behind the counter. Gu Jiao flipped through the account book and did not pay attention to him. The second boss saw that the situation was not good and quickly walked forward with a smile. Lord, it's all a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? She beat me and my brothers up like this. Are you blind? The man was blind, so he had more confidence now that he had someone to back him up. The second boss quickly smiled apologetically. We will pay for everyone's medical expenses. Pa. Gu Jiao slammed the account book on the table. The second boss panicked. It's over, it's over. Little Gu is going to flip out again. Little Gu, calm down. This is not the county or the hot spring villa. This is the capital. This group of people seems to have a strong background. We can't afford to offend them. Gu Jiao stood up and rubbed her ears impatiently. One by one, or all at once. She then said, all at once. Annoying. The second boss, no, little Gu, don't, you're wrong. Guard Tong was shocked by Gu Jiao's words for a while before he realized what she was referring to. She was just a little girl. How could she be so arrogant? Guard Tong said coldly, I'm a man. I don't bully women. Call out the person in charge. Before he could finish, Gu Jiao had already dashed out of the counter, grabbed him by the collar, and dragged him all the way out of the medical center. Guard Tong was not an ordinary guard. He did not want to expose his identity, so he wore the clothes of an ordinary person. However, his identity was enough to let him do whatever he wanted in the capital. There was no need to talk about his martial arts. He had never been treated like this before. Before he could react, he had already crashed into the stone lion at the door. He flew into a rage out of humiliation and pulled out his sword. However, before he could unsheath his sword, Gu Jiao kicked it back into the scabbard. A stick rolled in front of Gu Jiao's feet. Gu Jiao tiptoed and stepped on the end of the stick. The stick immediately stood up. Gu Jiao grabbed it with her hand and performed a dog-beating stick technique on the spot. The man quickly rushed out of the room. When he saw that bodyguard Tong was being suppressed by the maidservant to the point that he was unable to retaliate, he shouted loudly, Stop! Official Tong is from the prince's residence. If you dare to touch him, I think you don't want to live anymore. Speak of the devil. A man dressed in brocade robes rode over on a horse. Behind him were several martial arts experts of the imperial palace. He was unrestrained, elegant, and elegant. He was the epitome of the royal family's good looks. He also had a pair of bewitching eyes. Gu Jiao couldn't help but think of the beautiful monk she had met in the forest. The only difference was that the beautiful monk was more beautiful than him. Guard Tong also saw him and quickly knelt down on one knee. He cupped his hands and greeted, Fourth Master. There were more and more people watching the show. The man who was called His Highness didn't seem to care about being watched. On the contrary, he seemed to be enjoying it. He looked at Guard Tong with a smile that wasn't a smile. What happened? Guard Tong glanced at the man from the corner of his eyes. The man was already scared out of his wits the moment Guard Tong knelt down and called him Fourth Master. Others didn't know who Fourth Master was? How could he not be clear? This was the dignified prince of Zhao country. Guard Tong frowned. This person was a distant relative of his. Usually, he bullied others, but he didn't go too far. More importantly, there were many things that he couldn't do, so he had him take care of. Guard Tong said to the fourth prince, reporting to Fourth Master, a servant girl committed a crime on the street. I came to question her, and she also fought with me. The fourth prince's gaze fell on Guard Tong's swollen left cheek. So, your face was beaten up by a servant girl? Guard Tong lowered his head in shame. At this time, the second boss still hadn't guessed the fourth prince's identity. He came out and said to the fourth prince on the horse, Young master, the matter is like this. Our medical center has just opened not long ago, and we are not familiar with the capital. We treated a patient and angered this brother, so this brother fought with our medical center's doctor. After that, he called for help. The fourth emperor. As soon as the man opened his mouth, he received the fourth prince's sharp gaze. He trembled and changed his words. Fourth master, the patient they treated was Lu Yixing. The Lu family had plotted against the fourth prince's imperial father. How could the fourth prince allow a descendant of the Lu family to be treated? Stupid girl, you're dead meat. Who treated him? This young lady? The fourth prince's gaze slowly fell on Gu Jiao. He narrowed his eyes and his lips curled into a meaningful smile. This young lady doesn't know Lu Yixing. If she treated him, then so be it. The man was startled. What did the fourth prince mean? Didn't he hate the Lu family the most? Last time, the owner of a rice shop had bought several caddies of good rice for the Lu family, but the fourth prince had smashed the shop. But God Tong understood his master's thoughts. There was a saying in the capital circle of nobles, the fourth master had a slim waist. Although that servant girl's appearance wasn't satisfactory, with such a large red mark on her face, her waist was really slim. The fourth prince had taken a liking to her. The fourth prince rode his horse in front of Gu Jiao. He looked down at Gu Jiao from his horse's back. He slightly bent his body and asked with a smile, "May I ask for this young lady's name?" Gu Jiao ignored him and turned to leave. One of the imperial guards beside the fourth prince suddenly dismounted from his horse and raised his hand to block Gu Jiao's path. "Gu Jiao, get out of my way." The imperial guard, "Answer my master's question." The remaining three experts also glared at Gu Jiao like tigers eyeing their prey. Gu Jiao slowly walked a few steps towards the fourth prince and looked up at him. The fourth prince smiled and waited for Gu Jiao's name. But he saw Gu Jiao pull him down from his horse and step on the stirrup. She nimbly mounted the horse and galloped away. The fourth prince was stunned. He was furious. Chase after her. The four imperial guards chased after Gu Jiao. To be honest, this was Gu Jiao's first time riding a horse. Her riding skills were not good and the four imperial guards soon caught up with her. Gu Jiao pulled the reins tightly. When she passed by an alley, she decisively abandoned the horse and climbed onto a roof with her bare hands. Below her was a carriage. She lightly jumped and planned to use the canopy of the carriage as leverage. Then she turned around and shot out the silver needle in her hand. Gu Jiao would never have thought that this was Marquis Xian Ping's carriage. At this time, Marquis Xian Ping was lying on his side on the luxurious couch with one hand supporting his head. He was leisurely eating winter dates. Chong Jing was looking for something outside the carriage. His hidden weapon was missing. He looked all around but couldn't find it. He frowned and stood up from the outer seat. He removed the carriage's canopy. Gu Jiao missed a step and fell down. Marquis Xian Ping experienced what was called an unexpected disaster. That foot landed squarely on his handsome face, and his entire body flipped off the couch. For the first time in his life, he was used as a human cushion by someone. Gu Jiao was a little confused. She tilted her head. It doesn't hurt. But Marquis Xian Ping was in so much pain. His old waist, the old waist that he had taken care of for so many years. Chong Jing. How many times have I told you, don't casually tear apart the carriage? Unfortunately, he couldn't say these words. He choked on the dates. Digression, Jiao Jiao, it's not my fault. Begging for monthly votes, bowing and thanking. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/114166806. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg Kombiku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhhbqg. Com. Chapter 178. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. The weather was good. All the major academies in the capital had opened their classes, including Qinghe Academy. Early in the morning, Gu Yan and Gu Shaoshun came to the academy with their bags of books. The first day's homework was not much, mainly to settle down. The moment they entered the courtyard with their bags of books, they met Gu Changfeng and Gu Changlin, the brothers of the Lord Protector's manor. Gu Changlin was finally able to walk normally after 2 months of recuperation. However, he was still traumatized and felt that he would get hurt if he walked a few steps. The four of them met at the door and the scene was really awkward. Gu Chinglin's gaze on Gu Yan was still filled with hatred, but under the hatred, there was even more fear. As long as he saw Gu Yan, he would think of the scene where Gu Jiao locked him in the small dark room and ravaged him. He didn't dare to touch Gu Yan easily anymore. He only hoped that something would happen to Gu Yan so that his hatred could be appeased. Gu Shaoshun decisively stood in front of Gu Yan and blocked their gazes. What a joke! From an inarticulate carpenter to the #1 bully in the surrounding area, there was only a difference of a chicken feather. He, Gu Shaoshun, was not someone to be trifled with. Let's go. Gu Chengfeng didn't want to fight with the two in the academy. Gu Chongqing had already given them a death order. If they caused trouble outside, they would be punished to live in the ancestral hall for a year. It didn't matter if they couldn't live in the ancestral hall. The main thing was that they were in debt and had to sneak out to do missions every night to repay the debt. It would be inconvenient for them to go out if they were watched by their eldest brother's secret guards. Gu Changlin was taken away by the 2 guards. Gu Yan. Humph. The 4 of them went to their respective classrooms. On the other side, Xiao Lulang and little Jing Kong also came to the directorate for class. Xiao Lulang sent little Jing Kong to Meng Shui's door first and said to him, "I'll pick you up for lunch at noon." "I know." Little Jing Kong said casually, "I'm already 4 years old. I'm not a kid anymore." Xiao Lulang doubted his age. He always felt that it was possible that the abbot estimated his age too early. After all, he was so young, not like the 4-year-old Tuanzi at all. "All right, let's go in," Xiao Lulang said to him. Little Jing Kong entered the elementary school with his school bag in his arms. Why go to school? He clearly only wanted to stay by Jiao Jiao's side and become Jiao Jiao's little tail. Little Jing Kong's class had changed a lot. Because the children grew up very quickly, everyone had either grown taller or fatter. Only little Jing Kong was still a tiny ball. When he sat on the stool, his head was almost covered by the desk. Some of his classmates began to laugh at him. "Jing Kong, why are you still so young? Can't you grow up?" Yes. "Didn't you not eat? Are you still a baby?" In little Jing Kong's school bag, there was a bottle of milk that Gu Jiao gave him. Gu Jiao said that if he drank more milk, he would grow taller. But he refused to drink milk in front of these classmates. He didn't want to be laughed at by them. Among these people, the one who laughed the most arrogantly was Qin Chuyu. Qin Chuyu had been asking for leave since he got acne, so he came back after the spring festival. He was 8 years old now. Not only was he fatter, but he was also taller. He reached out to touch little Jing Kong's scholar hat. "Little kid, do you want to eat candy? I'll give it to you if you call me brother." Little Jing Kong glanced at him speechlessly. Childish. Qin Chuyu. Not long after, the teacher came over. It was not Teacher Jiang, but a teacher whose surname was Zheng. Teacher Jiang was transferred to Guangye Hall. From today on, Teacher Sun would take over the classes of the gifted class. After Teacher Sun introduced himself, he began to check the homework of the gifted class. The classmates who were laughing at little Jing Kong suddenly couldn't laugh anymore. They were having so much fun during the spring festival that they didn't even remember to do homework. There weren't many parents like Xiao Lulang who would check their children's homework every day. Most of the time, they just let their children grow up. The result was obvious. The whole class wailed. Amidst the wailing, Jing Kong's little kid quietly opened his school bag and took out his winter homework. The atmosphere in the directorate was a little unusual. The children in the elementary school were still young, so they didn't notice this change. However, as soon as Xiao Lulang entered Xingxing Hall, he felt that the atmosphere was strange and serious. There was also a hint of gossip mixed in the seriousness. "Hey, did you guys hear? Zhang Sai fell sick." "Why did he fall sick?" "It's because of that thing." "What thing?" "You guys didn't hear about it?" "No." His classmates never let Xiao Lulang down. They explained the ins and outs of the matter in a chatter. It turned out that the palace had already spread the news that His Majesty would confer the title of Prince Ning and confer Zhang Sai as the Chancellor of the Imperial College. Zhang Sai even had the Chancellor's robes custom-made and the banquet was set. Even the invitations were all prepared and waiting to be distributed after the court. But who would have thought that halfway through, the former Chancellor wrote a letter to His Majesty, saying that he had returned to the capital. His Majesty couldn't sit still when he heard that. Since the old Chancellor was back, why would he need a new Chancellor? His Majesty threw away his responsibilities on the spot. Zhang Sai was so angry that his face turned green. Before the morning court session, Zhang Sai's back was as straight as his head was lowered after the morning court session. He lost all his face and became the laughingstock of the entire imperial court. Such important news spread to the Imperial College in less than an hour. "Zhang Sai won't be coming today. He even said that he's here to teach us." A classmate said, "He's not here to teach us, but to listen to us call him Chancellor, right?" Another classmate said, after the matter of Xiao Liulong's exam papers and the embezzlement of the account books, Zhang Sai tried his best to clear his name for a long time, but there were still many supervisors who held grudges against him. Among the 6 halls, the supervisors from the straightforward hall were the hardest to fool, and their support for Zhang Sai was also the lowest. After Xiao Lulang entered the classroom, everyone stopped talking. Xiao Lulang had always been a maverick existence in Xingxing Hall. He always had a cold face and did not allow strangers to approach him. He was obviously a poor scholar from a small county, but he always got first place in the exams. He also suffered from leg problems. If this was the previous dynasty, he wouldn't be able to participate in the imperial examinations. Zhang Sai had once targeted him. He thought that he would be forced to drop out of school. Who would have thought that he didn't leave and instead, Zhang Sai's career wasn't smooth. They didn't know whether to say that Zhang Sai was unlucky or that this kid was tough. Zhang Sai's matter wasn't discussed for long by the supervisors. After all, to them, their studies and the next month's spring imperial examination were more important. Everyone quickly entered a state of study. Among the 6 halls of the Imperial College, the first year's Guangya Hall, Chongji Hall, and Justice Hall were the most popular. The second year's Dao Cultivation Hall and Sincerity Hall were the second most popular. When it came to the third year's Straightforward Hall, there was basically no one reading out loud. Straightforward Hall was very quiet. Of course, the atmosphere for preparing for the examinations was also the most depressing. This year's spring imperial examination wasn't limited to only this year's high scholars. The previous high scholars who had failed the examinations would also continue to return to the examination hall. Therefore, the competition was huge. After a morning of classes, the supervisors all went to the cafeteria with gloomy faces. Xiao Lulang went to Mengxue to fetch little Jing Kong home for lunch. He waited outside Mengxue for a long time before little Jing Kong came home. "Is the teacher staying in today?" he asked. "No, I just have something to do." Little Jing Kong raised his chin and said, "You have something to do? You really think of yourself as an adult." Xiao Lulang was annoyed and amused at the same time. He went back to Clear Water Alley with him. Their house was really close to the Imperial College. Xiao Lulang seriously suspected that the teacher of the little guy bought this house to make it convenient for him to go to school at the Imperial College. Lunch was prepared by the old chancellor. It was delicious. Gu Yen and Gu Xiaoshun didn't have any dietary restrictions. They ate in the cafeteria of the academy. After lunch, the old lady went back to her room to sleep. Little Jing Kong went to wash his own small bowl. Only the teacher and the disciple were left at the table. Why did you do that? Xiao Lulang looked at the old chancellor and asked. The old chancellor was not stupid. How could he not understand what his disciple was asking? He didn't want Xiao Lulang to have any psychological burden, so he said, to earn money and support the family. Xiao Lulang. Some tacit understanding was in the bottom of their hearts. It was dark in front of him. He couldn't see the way out. Gu Jiao and the old chancellor were illuminating his way out in their own ways. Little Jing Kong had to take a nap after lunch every day. But he didn't today. Xiao Lulang came out of the house and saw him acting sneakily in the backyard. What are you doing? Xiao Lulang asked. Nothing. Little Jing Kong said as if nothing had happened. He didn't take a nap, nor did he turn into a little loudspeaker. His behavior was very suspicious. As the saying goes, if a child is quiet, he must be up to something. Sure enough, after Xiao Lulang attended one class in the afternoon, Little Jing Kong's teacher called his parents. The cause of the incident was that Little Jing Kong came to school in the morning. Because of his small size, he was ridiculed by his classmates. Among them, Qin Chuyu was the worst. Little Jing Kong was not convinced. After class, he called Qin Chuyu aside and said that he wanted to compete with him. Qin Chuyu almost laughed to death. Haha, how are you bigger than me? Little Jing Kong thought for a moment. Do you have a bird? Qin Chuyu choked on the spot. He was 8 years old. There were some things that he didn't understand, but he still knew what a bird was. He blushed and became angry out of humiliation. How can you say that? I'm a man. Of course I have a bird. Don't you? I do. Little Jing Kong widened his eyes and said, Then let's compete with birds. Let's see whose bird is bigger. I'll come find you after lunch. Let's go to a deserted place. We can't let others see my bird. After lunch, Little Jing Kong went back to the Imperial College. He really came to find Qin Chuyu. Qin Chuyu was embarrassed. You really want to compete with that? He was a prince. He had rules and etiquette. This was too much. Besides, how could a 3 or 4-year-old boy be bigger than him? Qin Chuyu looked down at his pants as he walked. He wondered if the boy was really bigger than him. Okay, here. Little Jing Kong stopped under a big tree. This was a small grassland for elementary school students. Usually, no one would come here. Little Jing Kong walked behind the big tree and said to Qin Chuyu, Come here. Did you bring your bird? Qin Chuyu thought, What are you talking about? He was born with it. Do I need to bring it? I'm not a eunuch. Qin Chuyu walked behind the big tree with a gloomy face. He thought for a moment and still felt that it was inappropriate. Are we really going to compete? Little Jing Kong looked at him. Are you scared? Qin Chuyu couldn't stand being provoked. He stomped his feet and said, Are you kidding me? How can I be scared? Let's compete. Come on. I'll count to 3, and we'll walk our birds together. Little Jing Kong said generously, Okay, you count. Qin Chuyu gritted his teeth. 1, 2, 3. Little Jing Kong hugged the biggest bird in the house, the baby eagle, from the bulging book bag. Qin Chuyu took off his pants immediately. Little Jing Kong, the baby eagle, Qin Chuyu. Hearing this, Xiao Lulang broke out in a cold sweat. Then what happened? Teacher Sun was a new official and had a bigger headache than Xiao Lulang. He said in fear. Then the eagle pounced on Chuyu. Xiao Liulong's body shook. Pounced on him, could it be? Teacher Sun hurriedly waved his hand. No, no, no. It was held down. Jing Kong held it down. However, Qin Chuyu really thought that his little brother was going to die. He was so scared that he fell to the ground and peed his pants. It was so embarrassing that the crown prince of a country had peed his pants in the Imperial College. However, this matter was ultimately Little Clear Sky's fault. Bringing such a terrifying bird of prey to the Imperial College could easily lead to an accident. Xiao Lulang face-bombed. I was too naive to think that you wouldn't cause trouble just because you're a year older. Qin Chuyu's parents hadn't arrived yet. Xiao Lulang and little Jing Kong were waiting in a separate classroom. Little Jing Kong lowered his head and looked listless. Don't tell Jiao Jiao. He looked at the baby eagle in his arms. Don't send little Nine away either. Xiao Lulang looked at him seriously. You wish. Little Jing Kong thought for a moment and tilted his head. I'll waive your rent for a month? Xiao Lulang. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. Please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/114163592. HTML Genius memorized the website's address. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 179. The latest chapter of the book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Xiao Lulang was not so easily fooled by the little guy. The main reason was that little Jing Kong gave Gu Jiao the monthly rent for safekeeping. Although he could use it at any time, Gu Jiao was the one who paid the rent. If he didn't pay the rent for a month, Gu Jiao would immediately detect something fishy between them. Little Jing Kong, who liked to exploit his bad brother-in-law, actually gave him free rent. How much trouble did he cause him? Gu Jiao was not stupid. She was not easy to fool. Xiao Lulang decisively refused little Jing Kong's bribe. Little Jing Kong did not know that his bad brother-in-law's heart was deeper than the sea. He really thought that he was upright and plain-spoken. He was distressed and ashamed. He anxiously waited for Jiao Jiao to pick him up from the Imperial College. He wanted to see Jiao Jiao, but he was afraid of Jiao Jiao. He had never been so conflicted before. Gu Jiao was in big trouble. She fell from the sky, missed a step and fell into the carriage. She even crushed someone. She was stunned for a while before she finally recovered. She quickly got up from his back and looked at him seriously. Uncle, are you okay? How could Marquis Xian Ping be okay? He was about to choke to death. He was a marquis of Zhao country. He fought countless battles in his life, killed countless enemies, and made outstanding contributions. He didn't want to die honorably, but at least he didn't want to die in such a cowardly way. He thought about how the history books would record his death. Xiao Ji, a first-grade marquis, choked to death. How old was he? F***ck. Xian Ping Ho cursed Chong Jing 100 times in his heart for tearing down the carriage. Soon after, he felt a light little hand coming from his back. It passed under his arms and lifted him up. The two arms clamped down on his abdomen and pressed upwards. He felt a burst of breath in his chest and spat out the winter dates that were stuck in his throat. At the same time, Chong Jing finally squatted on the ground and searched the roof of the carriage. She found his hidden weapon marbles. Chong Jing put away the marbles, grabbed the roof and turned around. When she was about to put it on the carriage, she saw Marquis Xian Ping looking at her with a pale face. There was a little girl beside Marquis Xian Ping. Chong Jing, well, what happened? Marquis Xian Ping. Chong Jing blinked and realized that he might have made Master Ho angry again. He said, I'm looking for marbles. Marquis Xian Ping. I'm not even comparable to a pearl in your heart. Chong Jing slowly and carefully put the canopy back on the carriage. She didn't forget to remind him, be careful of your head. Marquis Xian Ping. Heh, now you know how to care for others. Did you die just now? On the other side, the 4 imperial guards were chasing after them. Marquis Xian Ping was asked by his sister, Empress Xiao, to go to the Imperial College to pick up his little nephew, Qin Chuyu. It was said that something happened to Qin Chuyu in the Imperial College. Empress Xiao couldn't leave the palace and Crown Princess was grounded, so she asked her brother for help. Marquis Xian Ping didn't show off. He just sat in an inconspicuous carriage and the coachman was Chong Jing. So none of the 4 recognized that it was Marquis Xian Ping's carriage. They chased all the way, but the girl suddenly disappeared. She was probably hiding in the carriage. The 4 didn't ask if there was anyone else in the carriage. They directly went to catch her. Chong Jing's eyes flashed with murderous intent. She jumped up and kicked the 4 people out. Gu Jiao. Oh, she was so good at fighting. Wait a minute. This guy looks a little familiar. Gu Jiao had seen Chong Jing before. It was when she was buried under the ruins of the brothel. At that time, it was Chong Jing who led the guards of Marquis Xian Ping's estate to move the big stone slab. Unfortunately, Gu Jiao only glanced at her and didn't see her face. Not long after the 4 imperial guards were beaten down, the 4th prince rushed over. Others didn't recognize the carriage of Marquis Xian Ping's estate, but he recognized it. Especially when Marquis Xian Ping's #1 expert, Chong Jing, was standing in front of the carriage. Chong Jing didn't often appear in public. He was originally a secret guard, but recently he didn't hide his identity. The 4th prince immediately guessed who was sitting in the carriage. He jumped off his horse and came to the front of the carriage. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Uncle." Marquis Xian Ping was the Empress' older brother and the Empress was the mother of all the princes. So it wasn't wrong for the 4th prince to call him uncle. As for whether Marquis Xian Ping wanted to recognize him as his nephew, that was another matter. There was no response from the carriage. The 4th prince was the monarch and Marquis Xian Ping was the subject. Even if the 4th prince's uncle saw him, he would have to bow to him. But Marquis Xian Ping's arrogance wasn't new. Not to mention a mere 4th prince, even the crown prince had to respectfully call him uncle. The 4th prince's face burned, but he didn't dare use his identity as a prince to pressure Marquis Xian Ping. He looked at the 4 experts on the ground and then looked at Chong Jing with a face of disdain. He gritted his teeth and cupped his hands. Just now, my people didn't have eyes and offended uncle. I hope uncle will forgive them. A faint sigh came from inside the carriage, and then the curtains were lifted. Marquis Xian Ping's cold and arrogant gaze fell on the 4th prince's face. "Watch your dog, or else this marquis will kill you." Saying this, he didn't wait for the 4th prince's response and coldly put down the curtain. The 4th prince clenched his fists and bowed, saying, "Yes, nephew will remember." "Then why aren't you leaving?" Chong Jing urged. The 4th prince knit his brows and left with the 4 heavily injured palace experts. When he was far away, he turned back and angrily looked at the motionless carriage. "Marquis Xian Ping, you better sit at a high place for the rest of your life and not fall down." After the 4th prince left, Marquis Xian Ping calmly looked at the little girl beside him. Her appearance was quite unexpected. He first saw the right side of her face. She was as beautiful as a fairy. Then when she turned her left face, he almost ascended to immortality. "Marquis Xian Ping, you often walk on the roof of the carriage?" "Gu Jiao, occasionally." Every wrong had its perpetrator and every debt had its debtor. The main culprit today was Chong Jing, so Marquis Xian Ping wouldn't vent his anger on her. Moreover, he could guess why she could fly. "Female doctor?" Marquis Xian Ping asked. "Doctor." Gu Jiao corrected him. Marquis Xian Ping sneered. "Then you are a female doctor." "No." Gu Jiao said seriously, "Female doctors only treat women, but I just treated you." "So, are you a woman or not?" Marquis Xian Ping. Marquis Xian Ping had a toothache. She didn't look very good, but she was very eloquent. Marquis Xian Ping took out his money bag and rummaged through it for a long time. He pulled out the smallest silver coin, but he was still not satisfied and said with a pained expression, "Here, the consultation fee." This time, it was Gu Jiao's turn to have a toothache. After being in the capital for so long, it was the first time she saw a member of the imperial family being so stingy with the consultation fee. Gu Jiao suddenly felt that the fourth prince calling him uncle was not fake. Marquis Xian Ping chuckled. "What? You think it's too little? Aren't you a doctor? You're not a bandit. How much do you want to charge for that?" Gu Jiao was successfully rebuked and was speechless. She silently put away the silver. She looked a little bitter. Gu Jiao got off the carriage. Marquis Xian Ping suddenly lifted the curtain. "Is it too little?" Gu Jiao nodded. Marquis Xian Ping proudly raised his eyebrows. "Then it's not too much." Gu Jiao. The little girl stepped on his foot. His face was still hurting and his waist was almost broken by her. Marquis Xian Ping would not treat Gu Jiao as his savior because of this matter. Since she was a doctor, it was her duty to save lives and heal the injured. She just did her duty as a doctor, and he also paid the consultation fee that a patient should pay. The money and the goods were settled, and they did not owe each other anything. Marquis Xian Ping said carelessly, "Well, let's go to the Imperial College. Didn't something happen to my little nephew? Don't let him cry to death." The Imperial College. Steward Lu had been waiting outside for a long time. Eunuch Su, who served Empress Xiao, was also waiting with him. Eunuch Su held his horsetail whisk and looked anxious. "Steward Lu, why hasn't the Marquis come yet?" Steward Lu said embarrassedly, "He must have been delayed by something." When Eunuch Su went to find Marquis Xian Ping was not at home. Steward Lu asked a guard to inform the Marquis, and he and Eunuch Su came to the Imperial College first. Eunuch Su was a little anxious. This matter is not a small matter, but it is also not a big matter. It is mainly because Her Majesty is worried about the safety of the seventh prince. Since the seventh prince was born, he has never left Her Majesty's side. He was suddenly sent to this kind of place, and Her Majesty did not let the seventh prince reveal his identity. "Steward Lu, I'm afraid you don't know that the seventh prince was bullied on the first day of school. Actually, the two children accidentally bumped into each other, but people always favored their own children, and unconsciously distorted the facts." "There is such a matter?" Steward Lu was surprised. Eunuch Su sighed. "Isn't that so? Her Majesty said that His Majesty is hard-hearted, and so what if the seventh prince goes to school as a prince? But His Majesty said that everyone knows that he is a prince, so what is the point of him going to the Imperial College? It is not like there are no teachers in the Imperial Palace's upper study room." Steward Lu was a shrewd person. He could tell that Eunuch Su was dissatisfied with Marquis Xian Ping's late arrival, but he did not have the courage to complain, so he could only nag in other ways. He added a few words of agreement. Marquis Xian Ping had not arrived yet, so Eunuch Su said anxiously, "Sigh, the seventh prince's school is not going well at all. He was bumped into when he entered the school, and then he got acne a few days later. He has been on leave until now. But I didn't expect that on the first day of school, something would happen again. Wasn't the seventh prince the one who got acne first? Then he spread it to the children in the class." Steward Lu knew about this matter. The prince's illness was a big matter, and Marquis Xian Ping even went to the palace to visit the seventh prince. Eunuch Su said, I will go and take a look first. I will have to trouble Steward Lu to wait for the Marquis here for me." Steward Lu hurriedly cupped his hands and said politely, "What are you saying, Eunuch Su? If you have anything to say, you can go first. When the Marquis arrives, I will tell him that you have been waiting for him here." Eunuch Su entered the Imperial College. His Highness the Seventh Prince had already been helped by two little palace maids to change his clothes. He was waiting in a classroom in the elementary school. Next door were Xiao Lulang and little Jingkong. The palace maids tried to calm Qin Chuyu's emotions, but Qin Chuyu did not listen. His cries were louder than thunder. Teacher Sun had just taken office and encountered such a troublesome incident. He was extremely flustered and could not control the situation, so he sent someone to inform Zhang Sai. Zhang Sai was originally lying in his room, sulking. After hearing about this incident, he suddenly sat up from his bed. "Master, what happened?" asked the steward. Zhang Sai's eyes rolled. "Something happened to the seventh prince again." The steward was puzzled. "Then, what are you happy about?" Zhang Sai smiled in surprise. "The seventh prince is the son of the emperor and the nephew of Marquis Xian Ping. What do you think will happen if I do Marquis Xian Ping and the empress a favor now?" The steward hesitated. "Grand Tutor Zhuang will be unhappy, right?" Zhang Sai said sarcastically, "What does it matter to me whether he is happy or not? He can't even help me get the position of libation. I think a grand tutor is nothing more than this. Why don't I take this opportunity to join Marquis Xian Ping's faction? Who knows, I might be able to get out of this hopeless situation." The steward, this, Zhang Sai sneered. "Also, the one causing trouble is Xiao Liulong's child. Didn't Grand Tutor Zhuang and Royal Prince and want to protect him? I will cripple him. First, I can join Marquis Xian Ping's faction. Second, I can vent the hatred in my heart." The thorn in his side was Xiao Lulang. The seventh prince's thorn in his side was Xiao Liulong's child. They even had the same thorn in their side. It was really God's arrangement. "Grand Tutor Zhuang, you can't give me anything. I can only ask Marquis Xian Ping for it." Zhang Sai did as he said and rushed to the Imperial College without stopping. Although he hadn't been conferred the position of libation, His Majesty hadn't had time to confer the position of libation on others. Therefore, he was still the highest official in the Imperial College. Moreover, he had a good reason to act this time. He wanted to see if Xiao Lulang could still break any of the Imperial College's rules. Zhang Sai was so excited that he was about to go crazy. Even Steward Lu, who was standing at the door, didn't see the Qiao family. Of course, even if he saw them, he wouldn't recognize them. He rushed into the Imperial College. "Where are Xiao Lulang and that child?" Teacher Sun had just come over from Xiao Lulang and little Jing Kong. When he saw Zhang Sai, he cupped his hands and said, "They are in the classroom at the east end." Zhang Sai was unhappy when he heard this. They are still in the classroom? Shouldn't this kind of person be locked up in the forbidden room? Teacher Sun, I don't want to criticize you, but you are too irresponsible. When I transferred you to the Imperial College, I saw that you were more capable than Teacher Jiang. You can't even handle such a small matter? Teacher Sun's nature wasn't bad. However, compared to Teacher Jiang, he knew how to protect himself. On one side was the legitimate son of the Empress, and on the other side were two poor orphans from a small county. Anyone could guess what the result would be. Digression. Everyone has recently subscribed and rewarded the popularity of the essay competition. If you don't have an author you like, can you support The Immortal Lord Has a Little Junior Sister? The author, Gongzi Wuzheng, has prepared a generous reward for the voting readers. For the specific rules and methods of receiving the reward, please check the comment section of The Immortal Lord Has a Little Junior Sister. Please note that you need to take a screenshot to receive the reward. Don't forget, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/114135924. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.